for case on, you know, Fairfax and color. 13 years old.
The caller is the call taker 3701.
Adam 130 to Adam 2. Agent 5, we have eyes on them.
Copy, we see you.
Dispatch Medicaid code 1 to shoreline beginning mileage 0.
Medicaid code 1 shoreline beginning mileage 0.
Delta 215 clear.
Delta 215 clear.
Bravo 240, somehow without it. Delta 215, Delta signal for 2836 Mary.
Your first, can I get a driver? 10-4. Oh, yes, stand by for fire department, EMS driver page.
Everything good? Either one's going to be
Attention fire department, attention fire department. Can I get you around to pole 12? I'm going to need an EMS driver for EMS at the VIP parking lot. Attention fire department, can I get an EMS driver to pole 12 at the VIP parking lot for EMS?
I'm going to take up 2 points. Oh, it's funny there. Just where I am. Two 12.
But, you know, we never fight to win. We fight to just keep it going forever. And when we fight to win, there's nobody that can even come close to us. But I was talking to General Dan Kane, we call him Raisin Kane. And I was told it would take about 4 years to defeat ISIS, and he did it in 3 weeks. I said to him, "What do you think, General? How long will it take?" "Sir, I think we should do it in less than 4 weeks."
2301.
You got time left over, and
2309.
we did that.
Drivers around.
And we were told by the television generals it would take 4 years, so we did it. That's when I went to Iraq. I flew to Iraq, and late at night, the dark of night, all the windows closed, all the lights off in the plane, and Air Force One. And we flew in, and it was pretty amazing. I'll tell you, we were landing, and there were no lights in the plane. "Sir, we have to have full lights." I said, "You mean we spend $9 trillion, and we have to fly in an Air Force One with the lights off?" And I went up to the pilot, said hello. And by the way, these guys are like central casting. These are the best-looking human beings. Everybody's like perfect. The most handsome people, the best-looking people you've ever seen with the flat tops and the whole thing. And I was a little concerned because the lights are off, and everything's off, and even the lights in where he was were down, very dim, very, very dim, with all of the lights on the fancy dashboards of Air Force One. We're getting a new Air Force One if they can ever finish the damn thing. We're getting 2 of them, actually. But we may have to go a different route because it's taken them a long time. We're going to get military that's going to start building. We're going to get people to start building properly again in our country because they don't build properly. This was Boeing. But we're up there, and I'm looking at these people, and again, I say, they look like Tom Cruise, but better. Stronger, tougher. And I like Tom Cruise, but these are better.
I
said, "Are we okay, Captain?" "Yes, sir, we're fine." But I'm looking at it, I don't see any lights, and we're landing. And I'm used to that. I like to sit with the pilot and respect the pilots greatly. And we're up there, and we have the computer. I call it the computer voice, where it goes 1,900, 800. It's feet. Your feet above ground, so that means you're very low. And I'm looking out, and my eyes are pretty good, and I don't see any lights. And the computer goes out, sounds like an intelligent individual. It goes 1,000. We're 1,000 feet up. It's a 10-story building. There's a big plane. And then it goes 900, 800, 700. I say, "Captain, Captain, we don't see any lights. Is everything?" "Yes, sir, everything's fine, sir. We'll be landing in 3 minutes." And then it goes like 600, 500.
Do not buy new windows if you live in Texas. Americans living in zip codes starting with 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, and 88 are being paid to switch to energy-efficient windows through the Texas Home Window Replacement Program. And this is real. In case you're wondering why your gas bill is so high and keeps rising, the energy companies in Texas are trying everything to scoop extra profits from the public. But the truth is slowly...
Years and trillions of dollars we have to land with Air Force One with no lights on the runway. But they were incredible people. And then I got out of the plane, and I actually asked my people, I said, "Excuse me, I was very brave sitting in that cockpit. Am I allowed to give myself the Congressional Medal of Honor?" And they said, "I don't think so, sir." I said, "Well, I felt I was extremely brave." Now, here's the problem with saying a story like that when you're a kid. President Donald Trump wanted to give himself the Congressional Medal of Honor.
David X-ray 6065.
Headlines, headlines all over, the fake news. We call it fake news. But it was something, and then I went down, and it was the same thing. I'm standing on the top, and I look down, and there's these handsome people. Everybody's like from a movie set. Good-looking guys. I get down the stairs, and "What's your name?" "My name is Kane, sir." "What's your first name?" They call me Raisin. I say, "Wait a minute, your name is Raisin Kane? I love you. I've been looking for you for 5 years. You are the great. This is what I want." And there was a general next to him. There was a colonel. There was a drill sergeant, a master sergeant. There were all the people. I could make a movie right now. I'd have the best-looking people ever. And they were great. And then I went in, and, "Sir, would you like to rest before the bed?" "No, I don't want to rest. I don't want to rest. I've been resting on the plane. Other than the last few moments." I said, "I don't want to rest." He was thinking about Biden in advance, Biden would have gone there, he would have arrested for days. And then they wouldn't have had a meeting. He'd just go home.
Go ahead, Maggie.
No, I said, I don't want to arrest. I don't want to arrest at all. I want to go. So we went into this like bunker, and we had a lot of very good, talented people. And that's when I asked them. I said, you know, I'm hearing it's going to take a long time. No, that's not right, sir. It's not going to take a long time. We'll have it done in 4 weeks. I said, how can you say 4 weeks? When in Washington, they said 4 years. They said, 4 weeks, sir. We'll hit them left. We'll hit them right. We'll hit them up the center. We'll hit them underground and overground. We'll knock the hell out of them, sir. And I said, why is it that they said so long? He said, because they wouldn't let us fight. And we're very far away. They want us to fight for this, from this airport. We're very, very far away, sir. And they want us to fight here. We have many substations out, sub-airports, they call them, remote airports, where they build them in the sand. And we have many of them, and I'd use them all, sir. And I would hit them so hard from so many different directions. I said, well, what do you think? He said, you just let me know. And I called him back, and I said, go ahead and do it. Are you sure you can do this, General? I said, yes, sir. And he did it actually in 3 weeks. It was over 100% of people that are really hurting the Middle East, hurting the world. And it was done. And we have, I'm telling you, we have the greatest military in the world, but you have to use the right people. But there's nothing like what they were able to do in that case and in other cases wherever I gave them something. It was done incredibly well and and you know many of the instances because it's been well reported. But we've also required it's a country that's just now bringing its respect back to the levels that it should have never lost. We were being laughed at by the entire world, but we're not being laughed at anymore. But we've also required that all federal employees must once again show up to work. It's a new phenomena, you know, since
Dispatch engine 17.
Show up to work in person like the rest of us. So, I mean, it doesn't work when you don't show up. And I see companies now are all going back to it. They're all going back. It's great. I watch some of the big business leaders saying we absolutely are going back. You can't work at home. They're not working. They're playing tennis, they're playing golf, or they have other jobs. But they're not working. They're certainly not working hard. You could never build a company or a country with that. So we have a very strong policy, and if they don't show up to work, they get fired. And we're trying to make our government smaller but much stronger. And we have tremendous bureaucracy, but it's happening. A lot of people are leaving, and in some cases leaving with pretty good offers. You know, you're paid 7 or 8 months and go out, find a job. But some of these people had jobs. They were actually working for us, but they also had other jobs. And those people, in theory, they have problems. I don't know if we're going to do anything about that. So we have other things to do, but they were working other jobs instead of working for us. So they were staying home working, but they were working other jobs, getting paid a lot of money, perhaps. We offered deferred resignation buyouts to all federal workers, resulting in more than 75,000 bureaucrats voluntarily surrendering their taxpayer funded jobs. A lot of them are leaving because they don't want to be caught having a second job. Some are leaving because they don't want to be in government any longer. And some are leaving because they didn't want to show up to work. They wanted to work outside of an office. And that's never going to work for anybody, including companies. Companies ought to get smart. You watch these companies where they do that. They start going bad. Nobody knows what's wrong with this company. Well, try getting the people back into the office where they can be cohesive and together. In less than a single month, the Department of Government Efficiency has already saved over $55 billion. And we're just getting started.
I'm sorry, it's going to be Lincoln George one.
To the numbers that you're talking about, right? We're ending trillions of dollars in waste, and it'll mean much lower inflation, lower interest rates, lower payments on mortgages, credit cards, car loans, and much higher.
How about you had a city involved accident with an electric unit?
In other words, we will rapidly grow our economy by dramatically shrinking the federal government, and we have to do it. I'm also taking fast action to end the radical left's nation-wrecking crusade against oil and natural gas. Over the past 4 years, the Biden administration cut the number of new oil leases and gas leases by 95%. They slowed new pipeline. I mean, look at the anyone. Dakota Access, they wanted that one knocked out. The Keystone Pipeline, they wanted that one knocked out. They ended the Keystone. We got the Dakota Access done.
Power down 4252 is Beijing, mobile transmission power cars, ground near reading 70114.
Virtually a halt. They shut down 38% of active oil and gas rigs in the United States, but they let the wind go round and round and round. The wind doesn't blow. They killed all the birds, they ruined the sightlines, they ruined the plains and the beautiful areas of our country, including the oceans, the lakes. They closed more than 50 power plants, all causing energy prices to skyrocket. You saw that happen. That's what caused inflation, pretty easy. These policies were so destructive that despite draining nearly 40% of U.S. strategic petroleum reserve meant for emergencies, it was meant for emergencies. It wasn't meant for getting a price of gasoline down so that you can win an election. It didn't work for winning the election. Actually, there's so many people that are driving, it's a very small number. It's a very small effect, but in the meantime, it takes it down. So now it's at the, we'll fill it up fast, but it's at the lowest level. When we made the transition, it was at the lowest level in history. Every quarter, the lowest level. Nobody's ever seen it that way. They put it all out because they thought they could keep gasoline prices down a little bit, just go past the election, and after that, they didn't care. And it didn't work because they didn't get elected. I got elected. But the price of gasoline still rose over 35%, and in some cases, at some periods, it was 100% and 125% during certain periods of time. Under the Trump administration, we have implemented a very different plan. You probably heard of it. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill. The world runs on low-cost energy, and energy-producing nations like us have nothing to apologize for. We have more energy than any other nation in the world, and we're going to use it. And we're going to use it on AI plants. I was telling some of the people that came in that, you know, they're very interested. Everybody's talking about AI. I hope you're right. You know, I don't know. Who knows? But Elon, are they right? Are they right in going? They are all in for AI. But the problem is, to do it, just in our country, you need twice the electricity just to open up and be the top of AI. You need twice the electricity that we have right now in the entire country. If you take all of the electricity, you need more than twice. You need double what we have right now just to fuel this new industry that's growing. I was amazed when I heard that number. And they all say this because, you know, in various other places, you can probably shake of a hand.
Yeah, traffic was King Young, King Henry Young, 2259,
and we're going to
and then for the order to the 181 westbound,
an electric generating facility. You'll be making your own. You won't have to count on utilities. You won't have to count on an old grid that could fail. Could get hit by something, bad things or good things, but you're not going to have to. You're not going to have to worry about grids. You're not going to have to. You'll build your plant, and you'll build your essentially you'll become a utility in a way. You build your own electricity. If you want to build extra and put it out and get paid for that, you're going to be able to do that. You could put it back into the grid, but you're going to be able to build with your plant a generating facility. We're going to get you Zelda, head of the environment, head of environmental. The environmental group, various groups, and we've got them unified now, but we're going to get you very fast approvals, and they'll be approved so fast your head will spin, and we're going to get that whole industry started. We're going to be there. We're leading right now. We have the greatest brain power. We're leading right now. I expect that we're going to be leading by a lot, but we're going to get you the energy very, very quickly. That would be the one thing that everybody is concerned. How do we have that much electricity when Los Angeles has blackouts and brownouts right now, and there's a lack of electricity, but we're going to get it at levels never seen before. I ended the ridiculous Green New Scam, halting tens of billions of dollars of wasteful deficit spending, and I withdrew the United States from the unfair one-sided Paris Climate Accord, and I ended Joe Biden's insane electric vehicle mandate because it was just insane. I repealed the last, and by the way, if you want to buy an electric car, it's great. If you want to buy a gasoline-driven car or a hybrid, it's great. Whatever the whatever the thing happens to be. I heard hydrogen's hot. The problem is when it's not, you're in deep trouble, because when that sucker blows up, they won't find the body. So that's one that I said, you know what, let's take a pass on that one. They said it's good, but when it's bad, it's really bad. You find the bodies on trees, on the side of a tree. I said, I think we'll pass on that one.
Okay,
We're not going to want that one.
Yeah, that's fine.
But you never know. Maybe someday it'll be good, but it doesn't sound like it's off to a good start. I repealed the last administration's very destructive natural gas export ban. And last week we approved our first new liquefied natural gas export license. And we have literally hundreds of people that want to export. I recently met with the Japanese Prime Minister, Shiba, to discuss large increases in American oil and gas exports. They want it so badly. They said we went to the Biden administration, they wouldn't sell it. They wouldn't sell it. Nobody knows
stock all over the world for many years, you know, and 1913.
All of this, Trump keeps going back to this phrase he's used. We were the wealthiest country ever in the tariff-only era. Take a listen to this.
Exactly. Everybody wants to be a part of what we're doing. They know that they can't get away with it any longer, but they're still going to do fine. And we're going to have a country that you can be proud of, not a laughing stock all over the world for many years, you know, and 1913, they traded to the income tax system. We used to be all tariff, and we had no income tax, and we had the wealthiest country we've ever had proportionately. From about 1870 to 1913, it was all tariffs, and we had more money than anybody. They had committees how to spend the money. They had so much money they didn't know how to spend. Then some brilliant person said, let's go income tax, let's let the people pay. Now, we're going to be able to substantially lower taxes when this is finished.
So listen, Trump's told this story before. It's really important to understand not just its incoherence, but its illiteracy and also its factual falsity. Trump seems to believe that the U.S. was relatively wealthier before we had an income tax because we relied only on tariffs. Set aside the complete mangling of the English language that we heard there, about putting up a 100-foot American flag.
You said you were going up to the lawn for a flag. What was going on? We're putting up a beautiful, almost 100-foot tall American flag on this side and another one on the other side, 2 flags, top of the line, and they've needed flagpoles for
really quality poles.
200 years. It was something I've often said, you know, they don't have a flagpole per se. So we're putting one right where you saw us, and we're putting another one on the other side on top of the mounds. It's going to be 2 beautiful poles.
2 beautiful poles. Trump is going to be working on that. This is the political equivalent of waving your arms and yelling, "Look over here," while the house behind you is on fire. Look, we're putting up these 2 huge poles.
But they were being indicted, and many of those indictments were dropped just before the election because they said, wait a minute, there's 100 million, 125 million people using this, and they didn't against it. By the time they did I think anybody and there are a lot of people believing it. Anybody that was smart voted for Trump. And they pulled the indictments. And I see people that were indicted. I said, I saved your life. I saved your life.
Look, if you ever see this bird on an elephant, then do not ever try to shoo it away because their friendship is so deep and bonded that as soon as the bird found an empty space behind the elephant, it built its home there so that it could always be together with its elephant friend. But still no one liked the video. Look, if you ever see this bird on an elephant, then do not ever try to shoo it away because their friendship is so deep and bonded that as soon as the bird found an empty space behind the elephant, it built its home there so that it could always be together with its elephant friend. But still no one liked the video.
Going to dramatically cut taxes for families and for workers and for companies, including no tax on tips and hopefully no tax on Social Security and no tax on overtime. And that overtime one is a sleeper because I think a lot of people are going to be spurred on to do a lot of extra work when they hear that. A lot of companies really like it. A lot of people
Hello.
really like it.
I know you know what's going on and why you were here. Okay? I know you were talking on the phone with your husband right now. We're investigating a murder. Okay?
This is Ermelinda Palomo, a 50-year-old woman. She's about to realize that in less than 24 hours, her fiancé has become involved in a brutal and complex murder case. On September 17th, the Romeoville police in Illinois received two separate calls. The first was from Rihanna, who reported that she had been trying to contact her sister, Zoraida Bartolome, but hadn't heard back from her or her husband, Alberto Roland. A short while later, Zoraida's mother called the police with a similar concern.
I'm calling for my daughter, Zoraida Bartolome. She lives Concord Avenue, Romeoville, Illinois, and we haven't heard from her or her husband or her children during the whole day. No answering the phone. If somebody can go by the house and check them, because the husband, they called from his work that he didn't show up to work. And he never, he's always at work.
A short while later, the police arrived at the couple's home on the 500 block of Concord Avenue to conduct a welfare check. No one answered the door, and there were no signs of movement inside the house.
Hey, I got a TV knocked over and a coffee table knocked over.
Nothing in this room.
Something, the lights are on. It's 9 o'clock on a Sunday.
And no, there's lights on in the back room. You can see it through that second.
Back there.
When the officers entered the backyard and decided to go in through the porch, they found something they weren't prepared for.
Yeah. This one's open. Oh God.
Need more units here. Hold this.
Yep.
You with me. You guys hold the front, okay? From a position of cover, please. I don't know if anybody's in there or not. You got another door right here. Corey, come up here, cover this door. This window. Fuck, this lights is dead. God damn it. Door's open. Alright. Romeo, please, anybody here? Move up. Romeo, please, anybody here? Body. Alright.
Inside, police discovered a horrifying scene, the bodies of an entire family. Alberto Roland, 38, Zoraida Bartolome, 32, and their two young sons, 9-year-old Adriel and 7-year-old Diego, had all been shot to death with a 9mm gun. Even the family dogs had been killed.
Quiet couple. They kept to themselves. They maintained their yard. I never saw their kids out front. I only heard them in the back.
The police investigation began immediately. This couple had no criminal history, no financial or work-related issues, and had just bought this home in April of the same year to start a new life. Zoraida worked for an engineering company in Glendale Heights, while her husband was employed at a local liquor distribution company.
Investigation leads police to believe this happened between 9 p.m. on Saturday and 5 a.m. on Sunday morning.
Investigators found shell casings from a 9mm pistol, overturned furniture, and abandoned spray-painted profanity, an attempt to stage the crime as random. Alberto, awake during the attack, was shot in the hallway while trying to reach his family. The intruder gunned him down before killing Zoraida and their sons as they slept. With no murder weapon in the house, it was clear this was a targeted attack, not a murder-suicide.
And Romeoville police still very tight-lipped about a possible motive for the violence.
Detectives questioned Zoraida's co-workers and uncovered a crucial lead. She had been receiving threatening messages for weeks, warning that her life and her family were in danger. They also learned that Zoraida had been secretly involved with a co-worker, Nathaniel Huey Jr., 32, for nearly 4 months. Her husband, Alberto, was aware, but had agreed to stay for the sake of their children. The threat started shortly after Zoraida began seeing Nathaniel, escalating over time as she ignored them. The messages warned that she, her children, and Nathaniel were in serious danger. A week before the murders, Alberto also started receiving similar threats.
So, what can you tell us?
With mounting evidence, Nathaniel Huey Jr. became the prime suspect, the man behind the threats and the brutal murders. Detectives quickly tracked him down at his workplace and brought him in for questioning.
Are you married?
Yeah, but not. Yes, but like we're not didn't go to court.
So like church married, but not paper married?
I gotta ask.
Did you have anything to do with it?
Okay. You know I have to ask, and you know that your number is going to be in her phone, and we're going to find your text messages, and we're going to find that stuff, and I want to get a surprise later on that you guys are fighting, or that there was something going on between you two, or just three of you that I don't know about, you know? Nothing like that.
Nobody was threatening anybody. We weren't fighting. Really, like fucking angels, you know what I'm saying?
I don't know. I mean, did she ever tell you, like, you know, I'm worried, I'm scared of my husband, or I'm worried, I'm scared of a neighbor?
He didn't seem like threatening. The reason like we were like really like taking everything like really slow because like he just seemed like he was pretty nice, easy going guy, but like it's kind of one of those things of like, you know, she's not bad.
When you say you guys were gonna like move forward, so were you guys like actively looking to try to get a place together or something?
Yeah, it was like, you know, it was slow, just kind of like. It's only a couple of months kind of thing. So,
yeah.
You know.
Nathaniel and Zoraida's relationship had grown intense. According to witnesses, they saw each other as soulmates. Investigators also found love notes written by Zoraida in Nathaniel's workspace, further confirming their deep connection.
Like I said, nothing against my wife, man. But like, it's a different connection with someone.
Yeah.
You know, that I just felt like really strong.
Detectives knew there was more to Nathaniel's story, and they were certain he knew something crucial. The day before the incident, Nathaniel left work earlier than usual and didn't return after the incident. Nathaniel's stepdaughter described him as paranoid, saying this behavior had only intensified in the weeks leading up to the murders. He often claimed that specific people or organizations were following him, and even went as far as protecting his digital devices from being monitored. Another suspicious detail was Nathaniel's business, and he owned a registered security services company that gave him access to various security equipment. Later that afternoon, on September 18th, after speaking with Nathaniel, the police headed to the O'Pine house. They planned to speak separately with his fiancée to see if they could find any more leads.
I know you know what's going on and why you were here. I know you were talking on the phone with your husband right now. We're investigating a murder. We have in our possession some phones, okay? And in those phones, we're doing what is called a phone dump. We can retrieve those messages.
Okay.
We have retrieved those messages. All right, we've read them. We're pretty clear that somebody's pretty upset at the victim. Okay? Is there any way that these text messages are going to come back to you? Or your name or your phone or anything associated with that? Okay.
He refuses
Why are you scared of him?
The real Ukrainian Poles.
Why are you scared right now?
Because when I called him because I was scared, I didn't know where he was. He said, someone's following me. So I called. And then I heard him say, why are you following me? And then someone said to him, there are messages from you, and it's because her husband found out you were having an affair.
It's pretty easy.
And I didn't know that.
A dictator without elections.
That he was having an affair.
Got to move fast, or he's not going to have a country left. Got to move.
When did you find that out? Right now? When's the last time that he had an affair? So I know this is not the first time.
No, it's not.
When's the last time you knew he had an affair?
Even admitted that. Biden never.
When we first started dating,
2015?
From 15 to maybe 17.
What about a man by the name of Alberto Rolon?
Have I ever heard of a man? No.
So when we asked your husband if he knew this person, Zoraida, he said, I've never heard that name. Why would he be lying to us?
I think that Ukraine's lost probably 700.
Should I believe him?
I don't know.
What I would like to ask you is, either Friday or Saturday night, did he go out with his friends?
No.
Did he work?
Friday night, no, he was with me.
Saturday night?
No.
Ermelinda claims that Nathaniel was at home on Friday and Saturday night and couldn't have left the house. She says her daughters are witnesses to this and can confirm it. What we're asking for is consent to get the text messages off your phone between you and her, to Snapchat or whatever it is between you, so we have both sides of it. Trying to eliminate you as a suspect, but
You can get it on the computer.
No, we had to take the phone, we plug it in, we take it out, and we
As
give
I've
it
said
all back.
before, it's my hope that my greatest legacy.
The most important evidence the police currently have are the text messages. These could provide crucial information once the sender and the full story are revealed. The police asked Nathaniel for permission to search his phone and to collect a DNA sample.
How about I come see you guys later after work or something like that?
Innovation, wealth creation, and expansion the world.
I got fucking other shit in there that I don't necessarily want you to be like looking at. You know what I'm saying?
I understand this, but again,
I promise you, I don't care what you look at.
No, it's not like fucking like freak shit.
When questioned by police about the threatening messages to Zoraida and Alberto, Nathaniel claimed he had no knowledge of them and there was no evidence linking him to the messages.
I don't mean any disrespect, I promise you.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying, like,
very soon our country will have
I
the
think it's
greatest
just
economy in
better
the history of the
if
world because
at this point now, speak to the hood. This is fucking, this is insane.
It's crazy. Yeah, I get you. However, he had another story to tell. He explained that he too had been receiving similar threatening messages for a long time from unknown individuals who were constantly following and threatening him. Nathaniel claimed the messages were from a Bulgarian mafia group who allegedly monitored his every move, even his phone, and knew every detail of his life. As the investigation continued and messages on his phone were examined, to the surprise of the detectives, everything Nathaniel said seemed to be true. This became the most puzzling moment of the case for the detectives. Was there truly a dangerous gang behind all of this? Or had Nathaniel cleverly fabricated the evidence to cover his tracks and avoid getting caught?
Identifying her as 50-year-old Irma Linda Palomo. Palomo was named as a person of interest, together with her fiancé, the suspect, traveling down to Oklahoma just days before 4 bodies were found in a Romeoville home.
Security footage revealed a shocking detail. Both Nathaniel and Irma Linda had stopped outside the victim's home. Nathaniel exited the car briefly before getting back in, this time in the passenger seat. Irma Linda had been driving the entire time. The next day, Nathaniel and Irma Linda fled the city without notifying the police. Before leaving, Irma Linda sent a message to her family confessing that she was terrified of Nathaniel but felt she had no choice but to go with him. She pleaded with them to take care of her children. Alarmed by her message, her family quickly reported her as a missing and endangered person. Soon, their photos and the news of their disappearance spread across the media. On September 20th, nearly 600 miles from home, police tracked Nathaniel's SUV using his phone and a license plate reader. They were spotted at a Walmart in Catoosa, Oklahoma, casually shopping for toiletries and leaving the store with smiles. Local authorities were alerted immediately and rushed to the scene. When officers attempted to stop Nathaniel's SUV, he and Irma Linda quickly got in and fled. A high-speed chase ensued, ending when their vehicle crashed into another car and then a concrete median. The SUV caught fire, and gunshots rang out. Irma Linda, wounded, managed to crawl out of the passenger seat and was rushed to the hospital. Inside the car, police found Nathaniel dead. He had shot himself. Despite being taken to the hospital alive, Irma Linda didn't survive. A year after the incident, police continued their investigation, determined to uncover the truth behind the threatening messages and the supposed gang controlling Nathaniel. In 2024, they finally found their answer. The mastermind behind it all, the messages, the fake personas, the paranoia, was none other than Irma Linda. Since 2021, she had been creating fake online accounts, posing as hackers, hitmen, and gang members, all feeding Nathaniel a carefully crafted illusion. She manipulated him into believing he was under constant surveillance and had no choice but to obey. She even installed tracking apps on his phone to reinforce the lie, occasionally using Bulgarian words and dark web references to make it seem real. In the week leading up to the murder, she sent multiple threats to Zoraida and Alberto, hoping to scare them away. But when that failed, she convinced Nathaniel that Zoraida was a mole and would kill him first if he didn't act. Through one of her fake accounts, she helped Nathaniel plan the murder, guiding him on avoiding cameras and staging the crime as a robbery. Nathaniel thought he was taking orders from a dangerous cartel. He never realized that the entire time he was only talking to Irma Linda. And in the end,
Johnny, thank you very
police
much.
believe he died never knowing the truth.
There are messages from you, and it's because her husband found out you were having an affair.
It's very interesting. When I was president, I got the World Cup, and I got all of the, we have the 250 anniversary, so that fell in this administration. That's a big deal, 250 years. But we have all of these things happening, and I also got the Olympics, and I was called by the mayor of Los Angeles, sir, would you call up the Olympic Committee, because it was at that time President Obama will not take their phone call, and we're going to get the Olympics.
A 14-year-old trying to make a name for himself in the gaming world. A young mother caught in the crossfire. In a high-speed chase that ended in a life-altering interrogation. This one reckless night shattered lives forever.
This is like a big deal. This is like so hard to go to school. Like someone lost their life, dude.
It was late, just past 10:45 p.m. The streets of Denver were quiet, but not empty. A Honda sat at
President-elect. I couldn't get them off the phone. They were starving for love. And the bottom line, they gave us the Olympics. And I said, isn't it sad I won't be president? Then we had the election result. And now I'm president for the Olympics and for the World Cup. So I'm very happy about that, Johnny. Thank you very much. I promise I'll be there.
And by the way, Mr. President, backstage you have a gift from Johnny. He gave us the first ball with your name, which will be played for the World Cup in America.
It's going to be great. Thank you, Johnny, very much.
Any day you will take a sabbatical year, but if you would you do? Sabbatical. You don't work for 1 year.
But you said Sabbath. It's a big difference. It's almost the opposite when you think about it, right? I think what I do is, look, what I'm doing now is the most exciting job in the world. It's a hard job, not an easy job. It's a nasty job. It could be a lot easier.
He was looking it up, and he was trying to way.
The newspaper has to straighten themselves out. People are getting it. They're losing tremendous popularity, and they've lost their prestige, and they've lost their credibility. And I think it's a very important thing, the news media, but I think they have to straighten themselves out because the people are going around them now. They have so many different things with, like Elon with X, which was a big thing, and we have Truth, which has been fantastic, and we have so many other things that you don't really need traditional. But I will tell you that there is nothing I can do to enjoy my life, whether it's that or anything else that you'd ask, because this is the ultimate. I mean, I had to make a big decision, and it was a very risky decision, because if I would have lost, my life would have been a much different life. It would have been a very nasty life. They were going after me.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we've got some jaw-dropping news that has Pawn Stars fans absolutely stunned. Rick Harrison, the well-known star of the hit reality show, has been sentenced to life in prison. That's right, you heard correctly. The man famous for his business savvy and deep knowledge of antiques is now caught in a shocking and unforeseen legal battle.
I will tell you, you learn a lot about yourself.
But how did this all unfold? How did a man who turned a pawn shop into an empire find himself in such a tragic situation?
It was dangerous, actually, very dangerous.
If you're as shocked by this news as we are, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our latest updates. Drop a comment below to share your thoughts on this incredible story.
We did the interview last night.
Richard Harrison, better known as Rick Harrison, is an American entrepreneur and TV personality born on March.
Involved in this decision to run, and it's a great honor to win by this much, to win all 7 swing states, the popular vote. Popular vote doesn't get won that much by Republicans for whatever reason. I think that's changing because, again, we're the party of common sense, and they're the party of some real bad things, and I think they'll change. I think they have to change. It would be wonderful. I'm going to be having lunch with some of the Democrats next week, and it would be wonderful if we could work together. I think working together. But they have to change. You can't get elected on the program.
This is Mackenzie Sharilla. She's a 17-year-old who was found guilty of murder for causing a car crash that killed her boyfriend and his friend.
Mackenzie decided death was the ultimate goal that day. This was not reckless driving. This was murder.
Sharilla's boyfriend, Dominic Russo, and his friend, Davian Flanagan, were in the car when she crashed into the side of a commercial building outside of Cleveland, going 100 miles per hour. Both men were pronounced dead at the scene, and Sharilla survived. Prosecutors argued that the teen had a toxic relationship, and Sharilla had made violent threats against her boyfriend.
Threatened his property? She tried to break into his house?
Correct. Reportedly, she crashed her car on purpose because she wanted to kill her boyfriend, and that his friend was just collateral damage. The prosecutor said the intent was obvious upon seeing that video, that there was only one goal.
You see her driving very calmly and making the right turn, and then all evidence indicates she immediately hit the pedal to the metal and drove straight into a building at 100 miles per hour. I think those really demonstrated to us that this was no accident.
And a few days before the crash, she allegedly took the same route to plot the crime. This is where the judge now finds her guilty.
Count 1. Finds the defendant, Mackenzie Sharilla, guilty of murder. To wit, Dominic.
She now stands up to be placed in handcuffs as she continues to tear up.
Count 2. Finds the defendant, Mackenzie Sharilla, guilty of murder. To wit, Davian Flanagan.
Sharilla now has a moment to speak before her sentencing.
I'm so deeply sorry. I hope one day we see. I don't remember this happening or do it on purpose. I wish I could remember what happened. I'm just so sorry. I'm heartbroken.
There was no medical condition that caused this as an accident. There was no mechanical failure of the car. A failed suicide attempt is not a defense to murder. There's a very good likelihood, Mackenzie, that you will spend the rest of your life in prison. She's sentenced on count 1, 15 years to life. Count 2, 15 years to life, to be served concurrent to each other.
The judge just sentenced her to 15 years to life in prison. This is Aiden Fucci, who pled guilty in court for the murder of his classmate when he was only 14 years old.
We're having fun in a cop car. Yep.
Fucci was classmates with a 13-year-old girl from Patriot Oaks Academy in St. Johns County, Florida. Fucci stabbed her 114 times. Her dead body was later recovered from the woods. After Fucci was arrested, he can be seen in the back of the cop car taking Snapchats. Now this video shows Fucci and his parents in the interrogation room.
All over the internet now. This is serious.
And I really sort of had to run.
This is no joke. This is your whole life.
If you were a historical ruler,
A video from prosecutors showed Fucci and the girl allegedly walking together right before she was murdered. Then about 90 minutes later, the video shows Fucci allegedly running away from the area where the body was found.
114 stab wounds, 49 defensive wounds, 35 wounds to the head and neck, 29 to the back and shoulder, and 6 fatal wounds.
After Fucci pled guilty to first-degree murder, the judge now hands down his sentence.
Having entered a plea of guilty to the crime of first-degree murder, I sentence you to life in prison. Because of your age, you are eligible for review of the sentence in 25 years.
After Fucci was sentenced, he stood still with a little movement. This is Willard Miller and Jeremy Goodale, and at just 16 years old, they are both charged for the murder of their high school Spanish teacher. Reportedly, it was over a bad grade.
We then moved her off of the trail, where I then struck her, and she died as a result.
Miller and Goodale went to Fairfield High School in southeastern Iowa. Nohima Gray was a Spanish teacher at the school, and Miller was one of her students. After he received a bad grade from Graber, he and his friend Goodale planned to kill her.
We discussed stand out here, look out, show up.
Graber went for her usual walk at Chattawaka City. The boys knew that as they stalked her and they waited to ambush her.
She jumped her in the back of the head, and I said, we should make sure she
President Xi about it very successfully.
They then dragged her into the woods and beat her to death with a baseball bat.
It was maybe beyond that. Like hide the body, bury the body, save the body. At that time, we were going to just hide the body. I guess in our areas, saying that nobody would ever find her.
Not long after, both boys were arrested. Court documents allege that the witness who knew Goodale showed law enforcement Snapchat messages that showed Goodale and Miller's involvement in the murder. One of the Snapchat messages saying, "Point of view, you're my Spanish teacher, and this is the last thing you see," followed by "Time to hide a body." Jeremy Goodale would later plead guilty and testify against his best friend Miller.
I understood that he had the intent to kill Mrs. Graver.
What is your plea to murder in the first degree, guilty or not guilty?
This is the moment that Goodale gets to speak before his sentence.
I had time to think on what to say, and I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. Every day I wish I could go back and stop myself. I can't comprehend losing a loved one in such an awful way.
And now the judge hands down his sentence.
The defendants shall be sentenced to life with the possibility of parole after 25 years.
Now for Miller. This is him apologizing before he receives his sentence.
I would like to take this opportunity to wholeheartedly accept responsibility for the role that I've played in the murder of Nahima Graver. To the family, I'm sincerely sorry for the distress that I've caused you and the devastation. And I ask that I'm given a chance, and I don't want to be institutionalized. I don't want to be in so long that I forget about what matters, where I come from, and we look forward to doing this.
And now the judge has some final last words.
The defendant, Willard Noble Chady Miller, should be sentenced to life with the possibility of parole after 35 years.
Miller seems to be completely unfazed. This is Rachel Schoaf and Sheila Eddy, who were both in court today for the murder of their friend when they were only 16 years old.
Their scheme was to hide knives on their bodies and to attack Skylar at an agreed-upon moment.
In Star City, West Virginia, Schoaf and Eddy were friends with 16-year-old Skylar Neese. Reportedly, Schoaf and Eddy decided they didn't like Neese anymore, so they planned to kill her.
Sheila Eddy and Rachel Schoaf carried out that plan. Together they stabbed and killed Skylar.
After Schoaf's confession, both teens were arrested. Schoaf agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder in exchange for her cooperation in the case.
I'm so sorry. I don't know if there's a proper way to make this apology because there are not even words to describe the guilt and remorse that I feel each day for what I've done. I hurt the Neese family and those who love Skylar. I hurt my parents and shamed my family. May God bring eternal peace to Skylar and the entire Neese family.
After securing a plea deal, the judge now gives Schoaf her sentence.
Rachel Schoaf, it is the sentence of the court that you be imprisoned in the West Virginia State Penitentiary for a period of 30 years.
But she will have the possibility of parole in 10 years. Now for Eddy.
It is the sentence of the court that you be imprisoned in the West Virginia State Penitentiary for the rest of your natural life. That sentence is technically with mercy, which makes you eligible for parole after you have served 15 years.
And the maximum penalty is the death penalty.
Okay, we're not going to pick him up for MC. If you have anything else, use any other charges for him, we can take them, but other than that, if MC is the only thing we have, we're going to
He's going to have a class B misdemeanor for theft. I'm going to file that over unless PD wants to take him now.
We wouldn't have had Ukraine and Russia fighting. We wouldn't have had inflation. We wouldn't have had all of these things that happened. But in speaking with her, she said about family values. I said, well, you're not really saying anything there because we have great families too. We have great family values. She said, plus we advertise a lot. I said, ooh, you mean you advertise about how bad it is? Yes, we spend a lot of money on advertising. And I said, they destroy your teeth, your skin, your everything.
These cops thought they could trap a civilian by using brute force.
Step down here for me. Yeah, no. Hey, whoa.
But little did they know, this dad had taught his son exactly what his rights were. But this is just one of 3 incidents of corrupt cops getting destroyed by innocent suspects, starting with the insane case of Taven Gallinakis.
I had nothing to do with student.
19-year-old student Taven was stopped by Union Police's Officer Nathan Winter Winters for a problem with his car's lights. After Gallinakis explained what was going on with his lights, the officer started asking for the car's papers and began questioning him.
Hi there. How you doing, sir? Good. My name's Officer Winters. The reason I pulled up is to get bright lights on. Yeah, but I have a headlight out. Okay, well that's not legal. Oh, it is? No. Oh, you were close enough though. You're a while back. That's true. Oh, my bad. Sorry. You're not supposed to have your lights on. My fault. You got your license, registration, insurance with you? Is this your car? Yeah. Okay. Where are you headed? Back home. Where's home? You doing a town or something? No. Where are you coming from? Friend's house. Okay. Anything to drink over there? You one of these right here? Yeah, I mean, that's a good start. That's the registration. All right, that'll work. I'm going to have you hop out with me, okay?
Well, these questions might sound innocent enough at first, but once Gallinakis replied, the officer jumped to one conclusion. It's essential that officers base their actions on observations and facts, not biased assumptions. If an officer's actions are motivated by bias, it could be a violation of a person's civil rights. But Officer Winters obviously doesn't get that. Once Gallinakis handed over the car's papers, the officer told him to step out of the car and asked him a crazy question.
Do me a favor, put your gum on the dash there. Yeah, perfect. We're gonna go back here, okay? Well, you don't have anything on you? No bombs, guns, drugs? No bombs, no drugs. Okay, let's go back here.
The accusations slowly started becoming more and more pointed. Now, baseless accusations like the ones being thrown around by Officer Winters violate the Fourth Amendment. It states that any officer needs to have credible evidence or probable cause when accusing someone of a crime and arresting them. But Gallinakis, realizing that Officer Winters was trying to trap him, immediately asked to take the breathalyzer.
So does the odor of alcohol coming from your person. Great, let's do a test. Get to the test.
I can't wait. So what happens if, nothing pops up? Do you get in trouble? No.
Why would I get in trouble?
Because you think I'm drinking, but I'm not drinking. Can I record it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Officer Winters thinks I'm drinking tonight. We're about to do a test. He's going to find out I have nothing to drink. He's going to look stupid.
Gallinakis was so sure of himself that he even made a video in the car. Winters then took the team through a bunch of useless sobriety tests instead of just doing the breathalyzer and getting a clear answer.
So let's go up on the sidewalk here and I'll talk with you up there, okay? I'm going to have you stand with your heels and toes together with your arms down to your side. I'm going to check your eyes. Okay, what I want you to do is follow my finger with your eyes and your eyes only and do not move your head, okay? Yep. Do you have any questions? Nope. What color are your eyes? Hazel. Hazel, do they ever change colors? Nope. Okay, not that you know of. Can you see my finger clearly?
And I want to thank
Mayor
of Miami, Francis Suarez, for being here.
How many more we got?
Thank you very
No,
much,
this test is about
Francis,
2 minutes
for everything
long.
Hi,
I'm
Francis.
going to use this line right here. Stay in this position until I tell you to begin, okay?
Along with the
Come on, man.
Seeing no point in doing all of this, Gallinakis asked the officer to do a breathalyzer test again. But again, he didn't listen, earning him an insult from the team.
83% of the contacted game was in the area.
No.
From the Middle East.
No way. When I say begin, I want you to how many false accusations you got? It's got to be first.
This sort of behavior suggests only one thing. He'd figure out that Gallinakis was not under the influence, but since the stop had gone on for so long, he was trying to somehow validate the stop's legitimacy. Police officers can choose which sobriety test to use and in what order. Even if a driver asks for a breath test right away, the officer doesn't have to do it immediately. However, if an officer keeps ignoring this request without a good reason, to think that the driver's drunk, it can look like they're wasting time. The NHTSA recommends officers should aim to use the most effective methods to determine if someone is driving impaired. Winters, who at this point was basically grasping at straws to hold the team for any reason, asked Gallinakis why he was shivering, but he forgot one important detail.
Alright, during this, keep your arms down your side. Why are you shaking so much? It's freezing, man. Look at you, you got all these clothes on, and I got shorts on and it's all excuse me, so of course I'm good. I wear shorts and it's 30 below.
Then he gave another sobriety test, and Gallinakis quickly went through it for the third time. He then asked for the breathalyzer again, but Winters, as expected, went on to administer yet another useless test. At this point, I think this guy's just making things up, and Gallinakis probably thought so too. Finally, 1 hour into the stop, Officer Winters got the device.
Blow real quick.
Stop doing all these damn tests. Let's blow. Let's get to business. Let's go to the front of the car here. Do this blow. 0-0.
Anywhere in the world. I'm going to go with Princess Rama, but she was the most powerful woman anywhere in the world. Susie Wiles, thank you.
All right, what I want you to do is make a tight seal around this and blow outwards like you're blowing up a balloon, okay? All right.
We have to talk
you ready?
about
yep.
It's pretty good. And also,
okay. So I'm going to read you Miranda, okay? Right now you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used in a court of law.
Now, the officer expected a result that would back up his suspicions and was already informing the teen of his Miranda rights before the results showed up. And since the breathalyzer showed that Galanakis was, in fact, not under the influence, Officer Winters decided to pull another accusation out of thin air.
When's the last time we smoked weed? You never know that. Tonight? Oh. Okay, well, I think it's tonight. I've had no weed tonight. What? Why do you think it's tonight? I'll blew zeros, so now you're trying to make us smoke weed. What's going on? You can't do that, man. You really can't do that.
Even though Winters claimed he had a reason for Galanakis' arrest, he admitted something else over the phone.
I stopped this guy for having his brights on. He fumbles around with his registration 3, 4, 5 times. He bombs sobriety. He says he'll do an evaluation, but he's kind of a smart ass.
Galanakis was arrested and taken to the police station. Almost 2 hours after the stop, a drug test proved that, surprise, surprise, Galanakis had nothing in his system, and the team decided to finally give this bad cop a piece of his mind.
How does it feel? Remember when I told you when you first pulled me over? I had nothing to drink. He's gonna look stupid. But we said you better than that. We said you better than that. I deserve an apology.
A few weeks after the incident, Galanakis shared on Facebook and YouTube versions of the body camera footage of the traffic stop and got the last laugh.
Rampant inflation, flagrant corruption.
I'm going in my house. Stay back. I'm going in. If you try and come past me, you're going to go on the ground face first. You understand me?
On September 29th, 2019, a disagreement broke out between 2 teens on a gas-powered bicycle in a Park City, Utah community, and a noisy neighbor decided to call the police. By the time the 2 Parkland City officers reached the scene, the spat had ended and everyone had retreated to their homes. Nevertheless, the officers made their way to Michael Franchek's residence, keen on asking him about his firearm.
Can I help you?
Hello, are you, Michael?
The NASDAQ is up nearly 10%.
Can I help you something?
Yeah, we're here about it.
Your name?
Officer Rodriguez.
First name?
Jim.
Jim, how are you, Jim? And your name?
2,200 points.
Sorry, badge number?
Set multiple all-time
badge number, please.
Let's go ahead and talk about the incident that you had out here a few nights ago. Okay. Step down here for me.
Yeah. Franchek stepped out, requesting the officers' names and badge numbers. But when they attempted to question him further, he declined and retreated to his home.
Step down here for me. Yeah. No.
Hey, whoa. You're 12. You just came to my house without a warrant. I'm not waiting for you.
Was there any gun in your back pocket? I'm just going to make sure we're safe. Okay.
I'm not coming outside.
Can we talk right here?
Sure we can. Jack, come here, record this.
Come on outside.
Record this.
Come outside.
Jack, record this. Grab my phone and record this. Whoa, I'm injured. Hey, I am cooperating. You're violating my 4th Amendment rights.
Outside.
You're violating my 4th Amendment rights.
Hey, you guys cannot come in here without a search warrant.
Get the phone.
I'm videoing.
Get the phone. I'm cooperating. I'm not fighting you. I'm not fighting you.
Outside now.
Walk outside so he's talking. Okay. Enough. I didn't do anything. You just tased me for no reason.
At this point, it's crucial to understand that Franchek was well within his rights to go back inside, unless the officers had a warrant, which they didn't. They shouldn't have entered his home without permission. Even though they knew he didn't have a gun and that they were no longer in danger, the officers didn't let Franchek go and continued to drag and tase him as they tried to force him outside his home.
What are you doing? What am I being detained for? What am I being detained for?
Just stop resisting.
I'm not resisting. Don't take his phone. Don't take his phone. I'm good. I've chilled the whole time. I haven't done anything. Relax. I haven't resisted.
Officer,
I am behind my back. This is unbelievable.
No, I know.
This is
They walked in the house without a search warrant.
This is unbelievable.
Once outside, Franchek immediately called for his son, Jack. Now, this Jack was not a lawyer. He wasn't even an adult. He was a 15-year-old boy, but this kid was about to become these officers' biggest nightmare, and the rest of the footage was recorded by him.
Jack, follow me and record. Follow me and record.
Give us space. I'm not. Give us space.
Jack followed after his dad, recorded the police as they made false claims that Franchek was resisting. One officer saw Jack filming the whole thing and tried to pull the phone out of the teenager's hand, but Jack was quicker and knew the cops had no right to be in the house, and so he called it out.
What are we doing?
Close my door! Lock it!
From a body language perspective, the quick movements and attempts to shield actions suggested a heightened defensiveness and awareness of any potential wrongdoing on the part of the police here. Jack then tried following them. One officer tried to get him to stay back, but Jack kept recording.
So the whole thing is all being recorded. Yes. I didn't resist. I know. I didn't do it. You know. See, he acknowledged that I didn't resist, Jack.
Yeah, I have it on video.
I didn't resist.
Well, they asked you to stop, right?
I didn't do anything against your instructions. This guy came into my house without a warrant.
This is me and you, right?
Okay, yeah, I'm fine. No, he can talk. He can talk. No,
I can talk because I was in this situation.
Okay, then calm down.
What's your badge? What's your name?
Step back.
I'm not.
Look, you just touched me. You can record all you want, but you're stepping back right now.
Hey, don't touch me. Stop harassing me.
The officers obviously weren't happy about being outsmarted by a 15-year-old and tried to intimidate him by forming a wall between him and his dad. But once again, Jack cut them down to size.
We're just trying to.
I'm videoing this. You can do this. Please get out of my personal space.
No.
Yes.
You're not going to interfere with what we're doing.
This is my property.
You're not going to interfere with an arrest.
Yeah, I do not need to give you that.
Thinking that they could scare him, another officer attempted to get at Jack, but this was not your average 15-year-old, and he knew his rights. But Jack was no pushover. During this argument, one of the officers' body cameras fell into the house, and when they went to get it, Jack followed along to remind them that they had no warrant to go into the home. Then this officer threatened violence against a minor.
Hey! Stay back. I'm going in my house.
Stay back.
I'm going in.
If you try and come past me, you're going to go on the ground face first. Do you understand me?
The same officer, desperate to try to find something to pin on Jack, came up with this sorry excuse.
You have 3 cops on me and I'm 15 years old. Because you guys intruded my house.
So you were the one driving up and down the street on the motorcycle?
I was on my gas bicycle.
Okay, that's a gas-powered vehicle. You have to have a driver's license.
No, you don't.
Yes, you do.
Not when it's 50cc and you have a permit for it.
As they took Franchek off to jail, one officer tried to take another dig at Jack when he said he'd be filing charges. But Jack had the last word.
So I'm not going to play this stupid game. Okay?
Okay,
we're done.
Okay. Can I have the case number right now?
Knowing that they would be getting reported, the officers banded together outside the police station, devising what to nail both Jack and his dad with. Franchek was later charged with failure to stop at the command of an officer, disorderly conduct, and refusal to comply with a police order, and booked into jail, but the charges were later dropped, and the mouthy officer and his partner were fired from the department.
MS-13 back in our country.
Who you calling, man? You ain't even... He's calling 911.
In 2022, Kenneth Skeens and 2 other officers from the Albuquerque Police Department were caught on camera while mistreating a 53-year-old disabled man.
Very, very badly, and they better get smart, they better get tough.
Hey, sir, after go ahead, grab all your money. Go ahead and put your money in
They approached the man standing on the counter and accused him of shoplifting when he was struggling to pay for a purchase. The officers grabbed the money, which the man had in his hands, and dragged him from his arm while he was struggling to explain himself.
We're trying to balance the budget immediately, and because of the tariff income, which is really...
I'm going down. They changed the location to where I was based on.
the numbers are
The cops got super physical with the man. The cops then proceed to ask the man his name, which he refused to tell. This clearly irritated him, and the police proceeded to arrest him.
Not giving you any idea.
You don't identify yourself, you're under arrest, okay?
You're not police.
Yes, we are.
What's
your name, man? All right, then you're under arrest. Go ahead, put your hands behind your back.
Who are you calling, man? You ain't even
He's calling 911. That's what he said anyway.
I was just paying. I was just had my stuff locked in, man. My fanny pack. And the security cars came, and I didn't take more time than anyone else. The other ones before me.
While this happened, the man made a phone call to the police and explained that he was teased by the security guards and needed help. The cops asked him again to explain himself and threatened him with arrests and trespassing charges before getting violent. The man repeatedly asked what crime he had committed. He then started begging the police officers to let him go, but they refused to show even a single shred of mercy.
So now you're going to be charged with concealing identity, resisting officers, okay? And you're going to be trespassed so you can never come back here again, okay? Sound good?
No, it don't sound good.
Well, that's what's going to happen.
The man was pushed to the patrol car and his pockets were dragged out to check his possessions. The cops also took his money, which clearly violated the man's Fourth Amendment rights, which protects citizens from unreasonable searches and seizures.
So, let me ask you this. You know the word cops now, right? Do you want to identify yourself? What's your name? Tell me your name.
This is my money.
We're taking it with us. Drop it, man.
Even after the man refused to give up his identity, the cops kept persisting and pushed his chest to the patrol car to search his pockets. The cops were able to find some of his prescriptions having his name written on them. This is when Officer Skeens threatened to charge him with a drug trafficking case, as there were multiple drugs written on the piece of paper he got.
What's your name? Is it Matthew McCannis? That sounds like a name. Well, I hope your name's Matthew, otherwise you're getting charged with trafficking because this is a lot of drugs.
Officer Skeens then arrested McManus for concealing his identity and resisting the cops' orders. The case was taken to a lawsuit in court where the cops were interrogated for their acts. The charges against McManus were dropped due to lack of any evidence and his disability, and Officer Skeens was charged with counts of engaging in disrespectful and abusive behavior, violating the norms set for peace officers, and violating the U.S. Americans with Disabilities Act.
Elon. So many billions of dollars, billions, hundreds of billions, and we're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens.
When suspects find themselves face to face with corrupt detectives, most submit to their evilness and wind up in jail. But occasionally, a few clever suspects are able to outwit the police, and luckily for them, sometimes it actually works.
Okay, so just tell me that if I don't give you the ID, you're gonna arrest me. Just say it.
Show us your ID. We need to see your ID, or you will be arrested.
Thank you.
As Elon said,
Got that right.
On September 14th, 2023, a New Mexico officer went into a dormitory after getting a call about an underage student having alcohol. It sounded like a routine stop, but when the officer talked to the suspected student, he quickly realized that finding the alcohol wouldn't be that simple, because Joel Martinez was a law student who knew his rights.
You were seen walking into your dorm with alcohol.
Okay. I don't answer questions.
Do you have an ID with you?
I do.
Okay.
You suspect me of a crime?
I do.
Okay, what crime and how can you articulate it?
Minor possession of alcohol. We got a report that you were walked in here.
So it's like here that they said thing?
Okay.
It's a, yeah, right? It's like they said that he has. And that's how you're going to articulate it.
The cop quickly requests the student's idea, but Joel is not giving it, knowing he must be suspected of a crime first. In addition, the student informs the officer that New Mexico police don't have qualified immunity and warns him to be cautious, as the Fourth Amendment prevents cops from unreasonably searching a citizen's property. But after Joel asks to see the officer's supervisor, the situation starts to get more challenging.
No.
We need to go from there.
You have to suspect me of a crime.
I do.
You realize that cops in New Mexico don't have qualified immunity, right?
I do that.
Okay, so from here on, let's just be careful with what you're about to do right now. You're saying that you want my ID, but right now you or yourself can articulate a crime I have committed.
Okay.
So
I already explained to you I am here.
Okay, I know what you hear, but okay, is my ID gonna tell you if there's alcohol in that room?
No, but I still need to identify you.
My name is Joel.
Joel what?
Joel.
I need your first, last name, and your date of birth.
No, you don't.
When the sergeant arrives, the student emphasizes that the officers are asking for his ID, not demanding it, which is not a lawful order. According to New Mexico state laws, concealing identity is a secondary charge, so he argues that he doesn't need to identify himself unless they intend to run his name in the system. While Joel is completely correct, he's definitely starting to annoy the cops.
I need you to tell me if you don't give me your ID right now, I'm gonna arrest you.
Why would I say that to you?
Because I need that ultimatum, because right now you're asking, and I have the right to say no, because you're asking. You're not. It's not a lawful order. I need you to make it a lawful order.
For suspicion of minor possession of alcohol. We need to see your ID.
$70 million
Okay, and if not?
for research of evidence resolution.
So here's by saying
for Mosaic medical
what we're trying to do is we're trying to be cooperative with you and have you be cooperative with us.
Okay, I gave him my name. You don't need my last name. You do not need my date of birth unless you want to run me for it. Unless you want to run my name through your system. Are you trying to run my name through the system? I don't answer questions. I don't answer questions. I'm asking questions. I don't. It's my Fifth Amendment. Is it or is it not?
Joel now invokes his right to the Fifth Amendment, the right to remain silent, and rightly decides not to grant access to his room so as not to incriminate himself. He needs the cop to declare this a mandatory search because it strengthens his position for potential legal action. The cop laughs nervously as he knows this is a battle he cannot win.
So the question is that like the officer told you, you're being suspected of having possession of alcohol underage.
207. I'll let my know.
Prevent this for you to let us So the next process would be, would you give us consent to check your room?
Nope.
To make sure that you have no alcohol in your possession?
Nope, I do not consent to any searches nor seizures.
Okay, very good. You're certainly welcome to if you wish.
I know.
ID you.
Or
And if we do not, if you do not present your identification, you face
you're saying could. I need you to say you will. No, I need that ultimatum. I will give you my ID if you say that I'm going to go get arrested if I don't give it to you.
So you'll give us if we say that?
If you say that, yes, sir. Because that's already grounds for me to set up litigation against you.
So you're threatening to sue us?
I ain't threatening nothing, brother.
That's what you just said.
It's not a threat. It's not a threat. It gives me grounds. Does it or does it not?
As unbelievable as it may seem, the cop starts to Google New Mexico laws in an attempt to show Joel, but once again he finds out that he is in the wrong, making him look like a total fool for not just not knowing the law, but still being wrong after resorting to an internet browser. Finally, they demand him to show his ID or he will be arrested. As weird as it sounds, this is the situation that Joel wanted, as it puts him in the best position possible should he need to take legal action against the cops.
Are you Googling the laws right now?
Not nearly as bad as
That's really what you should be doing right now.
I just don't want to say them because they're
You okay with that?
Yeah, continue.
Are you sure you're okay with that? Okay, so here's why we need your name and date of birth.
abuse, waste,
I'm
and
going
fraud
to read
and
you the law
social
because you're a law
security.
student, okay? Sean, you came over to New Mexico, it's all being recorded.
Yeah, I know. But so I'm gonna use my.
So concealing identity consists of concealing one's true identity or disguising oneself with the intent to obstruct the due execution of the law, or, yes, technically you are, with the intent to intimidate, hinder, or interrupt any public officer.
Okay, so your investigation is investigating that I'm in possession of alcohol, right?
That's exactly
okay, and
what
if
we
I don't
said.
give you, if I give you my ID, is that gonna tell you if I do or do not have alcohol in that room?
If
Or is it
you-
just a way
you
you have
deny-
to find with
You wish to deny access to evidence, but you refusing to identify yourself to us by name and date of birth, full name, date of birth, that is concealing identity.
Okay, so just tell me that if I don't give you the ID, you're gonna arrest me. Just say it.
Show us your ID. We need to see your ID, or you will be arrested.
Thank you. You got that right? Yeah, you got that. Dicks, for real.
Unable to get anything else from Joel, the officers finally decide to leave. And in the background, we can hear Joel and his roommates celebrating that he stood his ground and did not quiver in front of the cops. If he did have that beer in his room, he definitely deserves it now.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Joel. We're done. Okay, have a good. You guys know where you're at. Thank you.
That's the record.
It's really kind of one of those things that's up in the air. We don't want to do that.
Hey, I appreciate you though. You're a professional. Thanks a lot for that.
She was 127 years old. That's pretty old.
2023.
We're topping her by
7817.
3.5 million people from the age 140 to 149 years old. 1.3
However, you don't need to be a college law student to defend your rights, as the next young man will prove.
Get over here. What? Get over here.
I'm not doing anything illegal.
Yeah, you are. You just cursed me off.
That's not a crime.
Yes, it is.
Says who?
Says me.
Says who?
Turn around. Come on.
Bro, that is not a crime.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
On May 28, 2022, a police officer from New Jersey pulled his car to the side of the road to confront a young man who allegedly gave him the finger. As soon as the officer steps out of his car, he starts to slowly pursue the young man, claiming that being given the finger is sufficient reason to detain him. However, the cop is unaware he's about to be shown in great detail how wrong he really is.
Why are you giving me the finger? What's your problem? Why are you giving me the finger?
I'm walking away.
Huh?
Am I free to go?
Why are you giving me the finger?
Am I free to go?
No. Come here.
For what reason?
Why are you giving me the finger? What's your problem?
Am I free to go?
No.
What, do you have a problem?
No.
Do you have a problem?
No.
You don't have a problem, then I can leave.
Why are you giving me the finger when you're walking? Huh? Come here.
Many past cases have decided that directing the middle finger at a police officer is protected under the First Amendment and so is considered free speech. Despite this legal precedent, the cop ignores it and begins violently chasing the teen, catches up to him, and attempts to arrest him while the teen screams for help.
Whatever. What? Come here.
I'm afraid of you.
Come here. Get over here.
What?
Get over here.
I'm not doing anything illegal.
Yeah, you are. You just cursed me off.
That's not a crime.
Yes, it is.
Says who?
Says me.
Says who?
Turn around. Come on.
Bro, that is not a crime.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Why are you cursing?
It's not a crime.
What's your name?
It's not a crime.
What's your name?
The U.S. Agency for International Development, which was...
The cop then blatantly breaks the law by turning off his body cam for an unknown period of time until another officer joins them. The young man keeps asking why he's being detained, if what he did is not a crime, and demands an explanation.
What am I doing that made him detain me? What legal right?
Every time I rode by him twice, he shot me the finger. So I turned around and say, "What you?"
Is that a crime?
No problem. And then he tells me this is causing public disturbance.
That's not, no, that's not a crime.
F off, pig.
Yeah, off, bitch. That's not a crime. That's not a crime. He's looking at you because he's like, what the f*** do you want me to do? Because it's not a crime. I know my rights.
Are you?
I don't have to say any of that.
You do if you're being detained.
For what reason? What legal reason am I being detained for?
Where are you coming from and where are you?
What legal reason am I being detained for? I need to know that. Legally, I need to know that.
For the next few minutes, the cops continue to argue with him, attempting to convince him that he can be detained, but he doesn't flinch. Instead, he scolds the cops, emphasizing how they are supposedly there to protect him rather than making him feel incriminated. The discussion continues, and after some banter, the teen once again confronts the officers for not knowing the law and his rights.
Why are you shooting me the finger? Why are you...
Is that illegal?
Why are you flipping the bird? Yes, it is. When you are cursing in public, you are causing a public disturbance. You're being a nuisance to the public.
In what way? When he was driving past? Well, I'd like to see you guys prove it in court.
It's called causing a public disturbance.
I know the law.
By being a nuisance.
I know the law.
I'm not saying you're being charged with anything. At that point, he's detaining you to make sure that there is nothing wrong.
Make sure you're okay.
Make sure that you're okay.
What reason does he need to detain me?
He thought maybe he thought you were signaling him down. Were you signaling to him?
No, you knew very well that I wasn't signaling to you, right? I wasn't signaling.
You bring attention to yourself.
That's not signaling.
You're acting strange. I'm making sure you're okay.
Dude, that's so funny. Like, you're not here for my safety. You're not trying to protect me.
How do you know? You're walking on the side of the road and you're cursing and you're flipping the bird.
Once at him.
He gives you a lawful order to stop, and you do
not stop.
It
wasn't a lawful order, though.
And you do not stop.
It legally was not a lawful order.
If you do not stop, then that becomes a criminal offense, and then yes, you can be put under arrest.
But it's not a lawful order. Then I take it to court, and then he'd get sued, and I get punitive damages. I'd be rich. Is that what you want?
That may be what happens.
You don't know the law. That's gonna happen.
The cops ask for the teen's ID and continue to claim that he caused a disturbance without stopping to consider their own actions having caused much more inconvenience to all parties than the simple hand gesture. However, when the teen sees that they are carrying body cameras, he cheers, realizing he has footage of the interaction in case he needs it. As a final smug touch, he curses at them, proving once again how powerful freedom of speech really is. Now, the officers can't stop him, and he is free to go.
I said I'll give you my ID, buddy. He's such a pig, bro.
So what does that make you?
Not a pig.
Dude, this is illegal. You'll legally have to prove that I was a nuisance.
When you're standing,
how would you do that? How would you do that? I just want to
camera systems. Okay, so when he goes by in the car, okay, and he sees you doing what you're doing,
and what was I doing?
Be there.
And what part of that caused a disturbance? That's what I'm trying to legally understand. I don't understand. Is that a body camera?
That's what it is.
Perfect. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, am I free to go?
Give us fingers.
Shut the up.
Stay out of the roadway. Stop causing a public alarm.
Dude, shut the up. Am I free to go?
You're free to go.
Stop cursing. Go.
You're free to go. This young man understood what actions to take to avoid being arrested. But what happens when you're not just in cuffs, but you're being interrogated? Is it possible to get out of this situation? Well, this savvy heroin addict proved that it absolutely is.
If you got something that says you didn't do this robbery, this is your chance to talk to us.
Yes, we have a robbing patrol on Interbox 2.2.
Okay, good cop.
No, usually I'm the prick.
You look like the prick.
Georgia cops arrested a heroin addict named Jeff on charges of armed robbery. Jeff, who is familiar with jail and the legal system, immediately asks if he is under arrest as soon as the officer enters the room. After being read his rights, he remains calm and silent, seemingly contemplating his next move, causing the cops to become impatient. When questioned again, he displays his knowledge of police tactics and gives the cop a completely unexpected answer.
Am I under arrest?
For now.
I'm under arrest?
Yeah, I'll explain everything, but before I explain myself to you, if we talk to each other, I need to read your rights, okay?
What am I under arrest for?
Well, like I said, I need to read your rights first. Obviously, the charge is robbery, okay? Yeah, I'll explain everything.
I'm under arrest for robbery?
You are, but let me read your rights real quick, okay? And I'll explain it all to you. Is that okay? Can you do that real fast? All right, Jeff. Did you understand the rights I read to you?
1,000. We're 1,000 feet up. That's it's a 10-story building. There's a big
If you got something that says you didn't do this robbery, this is your chance to talk to us.
800, 700. I said, Captain.
No, usually I'm the prick.
You look like a prick.
Jeff asks for some methadone, stating that he is a junkie and will soon start to go through withdrawals. He then explains that he was in a bad place and at a bad time, expressing reluctance to talk to the police because according to him, all they want is a confession. Jeff appears more agitated and claims that he was at a friend's house when suddenly he was surrounded by police and arrested, emphasizing that they had no evidence against him.
I need methadone.
You need methadone?
And then he goes,
I don't have any. Do you have medication for it, or a prescription for it?
No, I don't know how the hell
What do you need
they do
methadone
it, but
for?
I'm sure as hell glad we had somebody that knows how to
Junkie,
fly.
you guys, I can't
They
do
don't
my
have any lights
methadone.
because they don't want the enemy to
Withdraw here a minute.
Look, here's the deal. Either you're in a bad set of circumstances, or you went and committed an armed robbery last night.
Yeah, I'm in a wrong place and wrong time, obviously. I didn't commit no f***ing robbery.
All right, then let's talk about this.
And they said, I don't think so, sir. I said, well, I felt I was extremely brave. But now here's the problem with saying a story like that when you kid. The press will say, President Donald Trump wanted to give himself the Congressional Medal of Honor. Headlines, headlines all over, the fake news. We call it the fake news, but we're all wise to them. But it was something, and then I went down, and it was the same thing. I'm standing on the top, and I look down, and there's these handsome people. Everybody's like from a movie set. Good-looking guys. I get down the stairs. What's your name?
We made contact.
My name is Kane, sir. What's your first name? They call me Raisin. I say, wait a minute, your name is Raisin Kane? I love you. I've been looking for you for 5 years. You are the great. This is what I want. And there was a general next to him. There was a colonel. There was a drill sergeant, a master sergeant. They were all like people. I could make a movie right now. I'd have the best-looking people ever. And then I went in. Sir, would you like to arrest before the night? No, I don't want to arrest. I've been arrested on the plane in the last few moments, which were quite harrowing. And I said, I don't want to arrest. He was thinking about Biden in advance, you know. Biden would have gone there, he would have arrested for days.
This is boat 13, we're here at the boat ramp. We'll be able to
and then they wouldn't have had a meeting.
Get that subject from boat 91 when they get over here.
No, I said, I don't want to arrest. I don't want to arrest at all. I want to go.
This one's a copy plate, Tom Victor George 2495.
A lot of very good, talented people. And that's when I asked them. I said, I'm hearing it's going to take a long time. No, that's not right, sir. It's not going to take a long time. We'll have it done in 4 weeks. I said, how can you say 4 weeks when in Washington they said 4 years? He said, 4 weeks, sir. We'll hit them left, we'll hit them right, we'll hit them up the center, we'll hit them underground and overground, we'll knock the hell out of them, sir. And I said, why is it that they said so long? He said, because they wouldn't let us fight. And we're very far away. They want us to fight for this, from this airport. We're very, very far away, sir. And they want us to fight here. We have many substations out, sub-airports, they call them, remote airports, where they build them in the sand. And we have many of them, and I'd use them all, sir. And I would hit them so hard from so many different directions. I said, well, what do you think? He said, you just let me know.
Will you assign me to
Medicaid and intensive call? General? I said, yes, sir. And he did it actually in 3 weeks. It was over 100% of people that are really hurting the Middle East, hurting the world, and it was done. And we have, I'm telling you, we have the greatest military in the world, but you have to use the right people. But there's nothing like what they were able to do in that case and in other cases wherever I gave them something. It was done incredibly well and you know many of the instances because it's been well reported. But we've also required, and we have a country that's a great country. It's a strong country, but it's a country that's just now gaining its respect back to the levels that it should have never lost. We were being laughed at by the entire world, but we're not being laughed at anymore. But we've also required that all federal employees must once again show up to work. It's a new phenomena, you know, since COVID. Show up to work in person like the rest of us. So, I mean, it doesn't work when you don't show up. And I see companies now are all going back to it. They're all going back. It's great. I watch some of the big business leaders saying we absolutely are going back. You can't work at home. They're not working. They're playing tennis, they're playing golf, or they have other jobs. But they're not working, or they're certainly not working hard. You could never build a company or a country with that. So we have a very strong policy, and if they don't show up to work, they get fired. And we're trying to make our government smaller but much stronger. And we have tremendous bureaucracy, but it's happening. A lot of people are leaving, and in some cases leaving with pretty good offers. You know, you're paid 7 or 8 months and go out, find a job. But some of these people had jobs. They were actually working for us, but they also had other jobs. And those people, in theory, they have problems. I don't know if we're going to do anything about that. So we have other things to do, but they were working other jobs instead of working for us. So they were staying home working, but they were working other jobs, getting paid a lot of money, perhaps. We offered deferred resignation buyouts to all federal workers, resulting in more than 75,000 bureaucrats voluntarily surrendering their taxpayer-funded jobs. A lot of them are leaving because they don't want to be caught having the second job. Some are leaving because they didn't want to be in government any longer. And some are leaving because they didn't want to show up to work. They wanted to work outside of an office. And that's never going to work for anybody, including companies. Companies ought to get smart. You watch these companies where they do that. They start going bad. Nobody knows what's wrong with this company. Well, try getting the people back into the office where they can be cohesive and together. In less than a single month, the Department of Government Efficiency has already saved over this is just a short period of time, $55 billion. And we're just getting started. That's nothing compared to the numbers that you're talking about, right? We're ending trillions of dollars in waste, and it'll mean much lower inflation, lower interest rates, lower payments on mortgages, credit cards, car loans, and much higher stock markets. I think the stock market's going to be great. In other words, we will rapidly grow our economy by dramatically shrinking the federal government, and we have to do it. I'm also taking fast action to end the radical left's nation-wrecking crusade against oil and natural gas. Over the past 4 years, the Biden administration cut the number of new oil leases and gas leases by 95%. They slowed new pipeline. I mean, look at Dakota Access, they wanted that one knocked out. The Keystone Pipeline, they wanted that one knocked out. They ended the Keystone. We got the Dakota Access done, but it wasn't easy after they tried to stop it. They slowed new oil and gas pipeline construction to virtually a halt. They shut down 38% of active oil and gas rigs in the United States, but they love the wind turbines. They go round and round and round, and if the wind doesn't blow, they got problems. They kill all the birds, they ruin the sight lines, they ruin the plains and the beautiful areas of our country, including the oceans, the lakes. They closed more than 50 power plants, all causing energy prices to skyrocket. You saw that happen. That's what caused inflation, pretty easy. These policies were so destructive that despite draining nearly 40% of U.S. strategic petroleum reserve meant for emergencies, it was meant for emergencies. It wasn't meant for getting a price of gasoline down so that you can win an election. It didn't work for winning the election. Actually, there's so many people that are driving that it's a very small number, just had a very small effect, but in the meantime, it takes it down. Now it's at the, we'll fill it up fast, but it's at the lowest level. When we made the transition, it was at the lowest level in history, ever recorded. It's the lowest level. Nobody's ever seen it that way. They put it all out because they thought they could keep gasoline prices down a little bit, just go past the election, and after that, they didn't care. And it didn't work because they didn't get elected. I got elected. But the price of gasoline still rose over 35%, and in some cases, at some periods, it was 100% and 125% during certain periods of time. Under the Trump administration, we have implemented a very different plan. You probably heard of it. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill. And we're doing it. The world runs on low-cost energy, and energy-producing nations like us have nothing to apologize for. We have more energy than any other nation in the world, and we're going to use it. And we're going to use it on AI plants. I was telling some of the people that came in that, they're very interested. Everybody's talking about AI. I hope you're right. I don't know. Who knows? But Elon, are they right? Are they right in going all? They are all in for AI. But the problem is, to do it, just in our country, you need twice the electricity just to open up and be the top of. You need twice the electricity that we have in the entire country. If you take all of the electricity, you need more than twice. You need double what we have right now just to fuel this new industry that's growing. I was amazed when I heard that number. And they all said, how can we do this? Because, in China and various other places, you can get it with the shake of a hand. But in our country, you can't. But now you can, because I'm declaring a national emergency in order to get fast approvals. And we're going to have, if you build a plant, you're able to build an electric generating facility right next to your plant. So you'll be making your own. You won't have to count on utilities. You won't have to count on an old grid that could fail, could get hit by something, bad things or good things. But you're not going to have to. You're not going to have to worry about grids. You're not going to have to build your plant, and you'll build essentially you'll become a utility in a way. You build your own electricity. If you want to build extra and put it out and get paid for that, you're going to be able to do that. You could put it back into the grid, but you're going to be able to build with your plant a generating facility, and we're going to get you Lee Zeldin, head of the environment, head of environmental, the environmental group, various groups, and we've got them unified now, but we're going to get you very fast approvals, and they'll be approved so fast your head will spin, and we're going to get that whole industry started, and we're going to be the head of it. We're leading right now. We have the greatest brain power. We're leading right now, and I expect that we're going to be leading by a lot, but we're going to get you the energy very, very quickly. That would be the one thing that everybody was concerned. How do we have that much electricity when Los Angeles has blackouts and brownouts right now, and there's a lack of electricity, but we're going to get it at levels never seen before. I ended the ridiculous Green New scam, halting tens of billions of dollars of wasteful deficit spending, and I withdrew the United States from the unfair one-sided Paris Climate Accord, and I ended Joe Biden's insane electric vehicle mandate because it was just insane. I repealed the last, and by the way, if you want to buy an electric car, it's great. If you want to buy a gasoline-driven car or a hybrid, it's great. Whatever the thing happens to be. I heard hydrogen's hot. The problem is when it's not, you're in deep trouble, because when that sucker blows up, they don't find the body. So that's one that I said, you know what, let's take a pass on that one. They said it's good, but when it's bad, it's really bad. You find the bodies on trees, on the side of a tree. I said, I think we'll pass on that one, right? We're not going to want that one. But you never know. Maybe someday it'll be good, but it doesn't sound like it's off to a good start. I repealed the last administration's very destructive natural gas export ban. And last week we approved our first new liquefied natural gas export license. And we have literally hundreds of people that want to export. I recently met with the Japanese Prime Minister, Shiba, to discuss large increases in American oil and gas exports. They want it so badly. They said we went to the Biden administration, they wouldn't sell it. They wouldn't sell it. Nobody knows why. Biden didn't know why either. They asked him, I don't know. He wanted, they did, oh, I didn't know that. But we're going to sell it. And the new project in Alaska is going to feed all of Asia. We're going to take care of all of Asia. We have so much oil and gas, like very few people, like very few countries have, like really actually no country has. I also met with Prime Minister Modi of India, who wants to greatly expand India's purchase of American energy. And my administration has also launched the most aggressive deregulation program of any nation in history. Under my executive order, for every one new regulation added, 10 old regulations have to be eliminated. And you know, in our first term, which was the greatest economy in history, and even after that, the stock market was higher. If you think of it, it was higher after the fact. After we went through that whole thing, it was higher than it was just prior to COVID coming in, which is a pretty amazing thing. But we did a great job on that. But it was a terrible thing for the world. The whole world suffered. It suffered terribly, including China, including other countries. It was a terrible period of time. But despite that, we did well. But we had the greatest economy in the history of our country. And I think this time we're going to do even better. We were artificially hurt by COVID. We had to focus on that instead of focusing on, but just prior to COVID coming in, there's never been anything like what we did, what we achieved. And even after, we did very well, and especially considering what all of us had to do with COVID. Some nations were hit so badly, it's just unbelievable what happened to them. As part of our effort, I've signed executive orders to keep the United States at the forefront of artificial intelligence and to end Joe Biden's war on Bitcoin and crypto. We ended that war totally. That war is over. They were very hostile toward them until the very end, just because there are so many people on Bitcoin and crypto that just before the end, the SEC came out and they were being very nice. I was so nice to people because so many people were being indicted for no reason whatsoever. Very political group of people. That's all they did was they liked indicting people, but they were being indicted, and many of those indictments were dropped just before the election because they said, wait a minute, there's 100 million, 125 million people using this, and they didn't want to have, you know, all these people being voted against. But by the time they did that, it was too late. We had that vote entirely, I think. I think anybody smart that believed in that, and there were a lot of people believing it, anybody that was smart voted for Trump. And they pulled the indictments, and I see people that were indicted. I said, I saved your life. I saved your life. Because if they thought that, they actually thought that I was doing it, they said, why is Trump doing it? Is he doing it for political reasons? I don't do anything for political reasons. I do what's right. I want to be in the forefront of every industry. So I'll be working with the Republican Congress to pass the largest tax cuts in American history. And that includes, obviously, we have to extend the Trump tax cuts, which were, until now, the largest. We're going to dramatically cut taxes for families and for workers and for companies, including no tax on tips and hopefully no tax on Social Security and no tax on overtime. And that overtime one is a sleeper because I think a lot of people are going to be spurred on to do a lot of extra work. When they hear that, it's a lot of companies really like it, and a lot of people really like it. The new Trump tax cuts will also include 100% expensing for new factory construction in the United States and anything else that you're going to buy with capital. If you buy something that is going to be good for our country, we're going to let you expense it. 1 year expense, and I did that the first time, and everybody was saying, can you go back to that? Now you still get, I guess, 40% or whatever, but it, you know, pares down. But we're going to bring that right up to the top level. I think that had a lot to do with the success that I had during my first term. And we'll substantially cut taxes for all domestic producers of oil and gas and just about everything else that they produce. In my first term, I brought the business tax down from around 40% to 21%, which everybody said was an impossible thing to do. I cut it from 40. It actually was state and city was much higher than 40, but I got it down to 21%, and now I'm bringing it down to a goal of 15%, but only if you make your product in America. In other words, you're going to be at 21%, but if you make your product in America, you're going to go from 21 to 15. If you don't, you're going to pay 21%, which is still lower than anything. So guys like Elon are going to come and make his great cars in the United States. There are a lot of people are calling, a lot of car companies are calling. Three of the majors, they called and they said, we're looking all over the place. We want to be there. I'm going to be announcing tariffs on cars and semiconductors and chips and pharmaceuticals, drugs and pharmaceuticals and lumber probably and some other things over the next month or sooner. And it's going to have a big impact on America. We're bringing our businesses back. If they don't make their product in America, then they have to pay a tariff. But if they do make their product in America, they don't have to pay any tariff, which will bring. It's all going to bring trillions of dollars into our treasury, or it's going to mean that there won't be any taxes because we want to have a fair base. If they don't have it, we don't have it. If they don't pay, if they don't charge us, we don't charge them. It's pretty simple. The Republican Party is once again the party of common sense. We're a party of common sense. We want strong borders. We don't want men playing in women's sports. We don't want to have transgender for everybody. We're the party of common sense. That's how we won the election in such a big manner. We'll no longer allow other countries to ransack and plunder our nation. That's why I've announced that we will soon begin imposing reciprocal tariffs on any country that engages in unfair and unequal trading practices. If they tariff us, as I said, we will tariff them at the exact same rate. So if a certain country, because some of these countries, even countries that I've already mentioned, are extremely aggressive with tariffs. Nobody knows that. European Union, they have a VAT tax that's devastating. It's very tough for people on the outside. Hard to sell cars, really impossible to sell them because they also have non-monetary tariffs that are very, very tough. But if you take a look at that, it's a very unfair situation. And the VAT tax is similar to the tariff. Around the world, I'm moving quickly to end wars, settle conflicts, and restore the planet to peace. I want peace, and I don't want to see everybody being killed. And you take a look at the death in the Middle East and the death that's taking place between Russia and Ukraine. It's been going on, and we're going to end it. There's no profit for anyone in having World War III, and you're not so far away from it. I'll tell you right now, you're not so far away. If we would have had this administration for another year, you would have been in World War III, and now it's not going to happen. In the Middle East, I've restored my policy of maximum pressure on Iran, designed to and we've designated the Houthis a terrorist organization. They're, destroying shipping lanes all over the place. They're making it very hard for people to get their product delivered. They're making it very difficult, but we'll take care of that situation. And we've secured a ceasefire in Gaza, and we're bringing in the hostages, and we're bringing them home to their families. Some of them are in pretty bad shape, I have to tell you. To end the horrible war in Ukraine, I've spoken with President Putin and President Zelensky, and our teams began negotiations this week in Saudi Arabia. I want to thank Saudi Arabia for that. That was so great. Yeah. And I want to thank, in particular, we have so many of the people, Yasser, Mohammed, all of the people, but in particular, we have to thank Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman for hosting these historic talks. And talks that went very, very well. Steve was there, Steve Witkoff was there, and Michael was there, Michael Waltz and others, and they really went well. It's a big step. We got to get that war over with. You have to see the people that are dying. I look at the pictures, the satellite pictures of the field. It's a level field. And it looks like a modern-day version of Gettysburg, and you know what that means. It is just carnage. It's horrible. And, you know, it's not American soldiers. It's not even soldiers from the Middle East in the case of Ukraine, Russia, but it's people, it's young people from Russia and Ukraine mostly that are just being decimated. It's flat fields. And a bullet goes, and a bullet only stops when it hits somebody. And the level of people being killed in that battle, soldiers, young soldiers, in some cases old soldiers, because they're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers, in one case. But think of it, a modestly successful comedian, President Zelensky, talked the United States of America into spending $350 billion to go into a war that basically couldn't be won, that never had to start and never would have started if I was president, not even a chance. And it didn't start for 4 years, never would have started. But a war that he, without the U.S. and Trump, will never be able to settle. They'll never settle that war without our involvement. That's why they did such a great job this weekend. That's why Saudi Arabia did such a great job this weekend in hosting. The United States has spent $200 billion more than Europe, and Europe's money is guaranteed. They get their money back. It's a form of a loan. Nobody knows that. I know that. I said, why isn't somebody saying, you know, we do it the same way? And we spent much more money. We have to equalize. But while the United States gets nothing back, so they get their money back. It's a loan. We just give our money. And we had a deal based on rare earth and things, but they broke that deal. But they broke it 2 days ago. We had a deal because I said, we're spending $350 billion, and Europe gets their money back in the form of a loan, and we don't. We're just giving the money hand over fist. That's the Biden administration for you. But they're no longer dealing with the same United States as they were dealing with a few months ago. Why didn't crooked Joe Biden demand equalization, in that this war is far more important to Europe than it is to us, and that there's a very big, beautiful ocean, a separation. This is, you know, we're helping Europe. We're trying to help Europe. On top of this, Zelensky admits that half of the money that we sent them is missing. They don't know where the money is. He said, well, we don't know where half of it is. That's great, wonderful. He refuses to have elections. It's low in the real Ukrainian polls. I mean, how can you be high with every city is being demolished? It's hard to be high. Somebody said, oh, no, his polls are good. Give me a break. Every city is being demolished. They look like a demolition site, every single one of them. And the only thing he was really good at was playing Joe Biden like a fiddle. He played him like a fiddle. That's an expression we use, Yasser, to say that he's pretty easy, pretty easy. A dictator without elections. Zelensky better move fast, or he's not going to have a country left. Got to move fast, because that war is going in the wrong direction. In the meantime, we're successfully negotiating an end to the war with Russia, something all admit that only Trump is going to be able to do in the Trump administration. We're going to be able to do it. I think Putin even admitted that. Biden never tried. Europe has failed to bring peace, and Zelensky probably wants to, maybe he wants to keep the gravy train going. I don't know what's the problem, but he hasn't been able. He's very upset that he wasn't invited. He could have come if he wanted to, but that he wasn't invited to Saudi Arabia. But he's been working for 3 years. There's never been even meetings or phone calls to stop this war. It's a horrible thing. I figure Russia's lost 900,000 soldiers. I think that Ukraine's lost probably 700,000. And it's a terrible thing. You'll see bodies and body parts all over the field, all over. We see them very accurately through satellites. I love Ukraine, but Zelensky has done a terrible job. His country is shattered, and millions of people have unnecessarily died. And you can't bring a war to an end if you don't talk to both sides. You got to talk. They haven't been talking for 3 years. So we hope to see a ceasefire soon and to reestablish stability in Europe and the Middle East. Thank you very much. And as I've said before, it's my hope that my greatest legacy will be as a peacemaker and a unifier. That would be a great legacy. So in conclusion, the golden age of America is upon us, and I'm inviting everyone here today and every citizen across our land to take part in the most extraordinary period of peace, prosperity, growth, innovation, wealth creation.
That's 205 copy. Victor Young, 5540.
Everyone's talking about us. 3 weeks. We're in there for a couple of days more than 3 weeks. And everyone's talking about it. You have to see the crowds of people outside. It's pretty amazing what's happening. We're on the verge of soaring markets, surging incomes, booming production, groundbreaking technologies, thrilling discoveries, and a quantum leap in the quality of life. Absolutely a quantum leap. One day, very soon, our country will have the greatest economy in the history of the world because we once again have a president who puts America first, and we put America first, and your country should put your country first. But in the end, we want America first, and when it's all beautiful, which it's going to be pretty soon, we want to help other countries, and you want to help other countries. But, you know, I tell your leaders, and some of the leaders are in this room right now, you got to put your country first. Whether it's Saudi Arabia, whether it's something else, you got to put your country first. But we're going to have plenty left over to help others also. As long as you invest in America, build in America, and hire in America, that means that I'm fighting for you. I am fighting very hard for you. Together, we're going to make the United States of America bigger, better, bolder, richer, and greater than ever before. It's going to be stronger than ever before. We're going to be a peacemaker and a peacekeeper. We're going to stop people from these stupid, never-ending wars. We're not going to partake in them ourselves, but we'll be stronger and more powerful than anybody by far. And if it ever came to war, there is nobody that will be able to come close to us. But we don't think that's going to ever happen. So I want to thank you all very much. It's a great honor to be here. And I think somebody said they're going to ask questions. And I didn't say, gee, what are the questions like Biden does? I say, just ask. It doesn't matter. You ask a question and I give an answer. So I think, Richard, you're going to come up and you're going to give me some questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. President. Please, a round of applause for the President of the United States of America. Thank you.
Indiana, Texas. Tom, William, John, 4674.
And so far, I think 1889 and Maynard, that's not verifying for me.
Mr. President, thank you for accepting to take a few questions. 20 years ago, I don't know if you...
Stationary on the side of the road, trying to ensure the safety of people in construction, right?
An amazing speech.
Talk to you?
In front of 3,000.
You don't understand?
Nope. Giving them the best advice.
You have responsibilities enforcing traffic law.
So, what is the best piece of advice that you have?
I'm a flagger. Okay. Do you have responsibilities to enforce speeding law on the interstate?
Whenever we're in a construction zone, I see whatever they tell me to do.
Okay. Has anybody tasked you with the responsibility to flash your lights at motorists on the road and tell them to slow down while you're driving?
What we do.
Okay, what you're doing right now is stationary on the side of the road, trying to ensure the safety of the people in a construction zone, right?
3 different degrees.
Okay.
And they asked them to stay on at MIT.
Motoring public on 465, which is a busy interstate in Indianapolis.
I don't know what your point is.
Okay, my point is, let's step back and look, okay? Would you agree that some people might think this looks like a police car? Or some kind of emergency vehicle? Okay. Okay. Which is why I asked you why you are essentially trying to enforce traffic law on the interstate.
Who said I was trying to do that?
Did you not activate your lights when you said to slow me down?
I did not.
You didn't activate your lights?
Nope.
Okay. You didn't activate these lights right in the front of your car?
Nope. My strobe lights, I did not.
Okay, what lights did you activate?
I didn't activate any lights.
Okay, so there's two different stories you've given me. You said before it wasn't your strobes, it's your high beams.
You said strobe. Dinner party.
You told the horns off.
You can invite
these lights that are right in the front that are strobing.
So now you have two different stories, okay? So now you said headlights. So you said headlights and then strobes.
Steve,
so which one?
I'm asking you what you activated, and you said you didn't activate anything, which is not accurate. Okay.
I'll talk to somebody else.
Have you ever been arrested?
I'll talk to somebody else. I'm not talking to you.
Hey, is your laptop? Or do you have one in there?
I got one. I'm the mark behind him.
John explained that he owns Indiana Traffic Operations, a company specializing in traffic control at construction sites to ensure the safety of construction crews.
I have plenty of guys that will talk with you guys.
Are you on the place for the wreck?
It's a big deal. That's all I do. It's not like I'm not doing something. He saw the whole thing. Well, he's saying you're a witness. This dude, he drives by in his Jeep. We're going what? 60? It's 55 on Chapin.
It was also discovered John was on probation for unlawful display of emergency lights on a vehicle.
Mr. Becker, is your driver's license? Are you on probation?
I had the
on probation in Hancock County?
You already know the
What are you on probation for?
You already know the answer to that question. You looked it up, so you already know.
Okay. What do you think he's on probation for? No, I've never seen somebody on probation for it, but he's on probation for improper use.
It's not improper use. You need to read it.
I'm not here to write you a ticket.
Okay, I know
What
that,
do you think the odds are that of all people...
Reverse. You said improper use? What did it say? Now you're implying to him that I use red and blue light.
I didn't imply anything.
You just told him, and so now everyone thinks they're...
Did you flash your lights when you were behind him?
No, I didn't. I didn't. He flew past.
Well, you're not the police. So guess what? If somebody flies past you, call the police.
What do you think the odds are that of all the people that I stopped to talk to flashing their lights on the interstate?
But
whatever you want to call it.
He flew by me at 88 miles an hour, which would make
unlawful display of
a reason for us to believe that he did something about it.
Yes, you probably know a lot about the statute. But you probably, if you're on probation for that, shouldn't be on the interstate trying to slow traffic down. And this is your lucky day that the car that you try to do that to happens to be an unmarked police officer who happens to be working. Okay? So don't give me a hard time when you're on probation for something related. Okay?
I'm not touching that car. Stop touching my car.
You're lucky I don't tow it, which is within my purview.
Okay.
Okay? I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I've got your ID. You have this gentleman's information. I'm going to make a police report.
Okay.
How that handles anything for your business based on what your current status is, I do not know. What does your probation officer say? What we do, I'll tell you what I do for a living.
They're losing
so that is
popularity.
I don't like
prestige, and
It's like an LF plate.
Like a supporter plate?
Can't carry it, right? Because I'm on probation.
I think they have to straighten themselves out because the people are going around them now. They have so many different things with like Elon.
Police officer with the Indianapolis Metropolitan
we have truth
models
fantastic
on his TikTok page shortly before the arrest.
But
I think the ship has sailed, but why didn't you just apply to be a police officer? Visit codebluecam.com and treat your family, friends.
Because this is the ultimate. I mean, I had to make a big decision, and it was a very risky decision because if I would have lost, my life would have been a much different life. It would have been a very nasty life. They were going after me at levels that nobody's ever seen before. Not Andrew Jackson, not Abraham Lincoln. You know, the historians say that the president that was treated the worst by far by the media and overall was Andrew Jackson. In fact, his wife died of heartbreak. They were treated really rough. And Abraham Lincoln was second, but he had a civil war. You know, you can understand that. But nobody was treated like me, nobody. And I will tell you, you learn a lot about yourself. But there's
I will murder you. I will murder you. I will murder you.
Ground. Ashley's head banged on the blacktop as Antonetta held her down and told her that she would fucking murder her. The fight was lopsided from the very beginning. While Ashley was on the ground, Antonetta snatched the cell phone out of her hand and gave it to Janine before resuming the assault. Ashley repeatedly told Antonetta to get off of her and let her up. We don't know exactly what happened next because the authorities did not release all of the footage on the grounds that it was too violent and disturbing. However, Antonetta clearly held Ashley on the ground and continued to assault her, and Janine eventually joined in and delivered a few hearty kicks to her head as well. Moments later, witnesses saw them dragging Ashley through the parking lot by her hair. Antonetta told Ashley to say hi to Daniel a number of times. She also said that she couldn't believe that she and Daniel had had relations at work and that she was going to tell her boss and get her fired. She also claimed that Daniel had told her it was okay if she went outside and f***ed her up. Eventually, it seemed like Antonetta was about to let Ashley up, but Janine chimed in and told her not to stop. After another round of blows, they left Ashley in a heap on the pavement and walked back to the apartment with her phone. They originally planned on calling or texting her fiancé to tell him about the affair, but they never got around to it. The altercation only lasted a few minutes, and someone from the leasing office eventually called 911. Ashley was in bad shape, but she managed to get up and walk to the apartment because she wanted her phone back. Antonetta returned her phone, and by then Daniel was out of bed because of the yelling and arguing that had woken him up. He went to the door to see what was going on and instantly recognized that Alicia and Antonetta had been in a fight. But at that point, Ashley's injuries didn't look that serious. She was able to walk normally, and other than a few puffy red areas, her face wasn't that swollen. She eventually made her way back to her own apartment, but she was in far worse condition by the time her fiancé got home later that afternoon. He immediately drove her to the hospital, where emergency room doctors determined that she had fractured ribs and several internal injuries. And to make matters worse, her face and neck had become so swollen that she was having trouble breathing on her own. Officers arrived to investigate the incident shortly after the 911 call came in. When Daniel answered the door, they asked if they could speak with the two women who were involved in the altercation.
She works over there, she's his manager, and she keeps on forcing him to have sex with her after he'd been cut it off, or she's going to fire him, and we ended up fighting right there because she approached my home.
Antonetta immediately told them that Ashley came to her home, that she was Daniel's manager at work, and that she forced him to have relations with her at work after he had tried to end the relationship on multiple occasions. She also told them that Ashley repeatedly called and texted her that morning to let her know that she was coming.
See them walking together, and you're a woman, you know our intuition. I know that's the girl. I seen her, we argued yesterday, he broke it up, it was fine. This morning now, she's calling, text him, saying that she's going to be coming here. I waited for her.
The officers left without making any arrests because they weren't sure who had started the fight. They even called and spoke with Ashley at the hospital just to get her side of the story. To their surprise, she said that she didn't know Antonetta Stevens or Janine Gonzalez and that she wasn't sleeping with anyone's fiancé. Ashley seemed fine during their call, but her condition deteriorated to such an extent that ER doctors decided to fly her to another hospital with more experienced surgeons. But sadly, she died later that afternoon before they could perform what may have been life-saving surgeries. Now, with a possible murder on their hands, Gwinnett County detectives returned to Antonetta and Daniel's apartment later that night. Daniel was not home at the time. Antonetta and Janine were, but neither showed even the slightest bit of emotion when Detective Carter told them that Ashley was dead.
Well, we just got another call about it. So I guess the girl went to the hospital and she died.
She died?
She's dead. So, but we know that there was like an altercation that happened beforehand.
That was mutual, and she came here.
Yeah, we understand that.
Yeah.
So, but because of it,
I'm going to kill him.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
But because of that, we have to kind of talk to you guys and get a more formal statement.
Sure. Okay. Wow, I'm so sorry.
Antonetta did say that she was sorry and that she never intended to kill anyone, but she reminded the detectives that Ashley came to her home. This statement was obviously meant to place some or all of the blame on the victim. The implication was that the fight never would have happened and that Ashley would still be alive if she had not come around looking for trouble. Antonetta also told detectives that she was suffering from depression and bipolar disorder because she and Daniel moved to Georgia to start new lives, and she never thought that he would cheat on her with another co-worker.
Cheat on me with someone at the workplace, you know what I'm saying?
So we would like to get like a formal statement, so we're going to ask that you come up to our headquarters and talk to us.
It's just right up the street.
Detectives did not question Janine at the apartment, but they were pretty sure she participated in the fatal fight. A few minutes after arriving, they asked Antonetta and Janine to come to the police station just down the road so they could ask them a few questions. It's unclear if Antonetta and Janine were transported to the police station in the same vehicle, but they were placed in separate interrogation rooms immediately after arriving. Antonetta's demeanor and body language were relatively somber, but she told detectives that she didn't go out looking for trouble and that she never intended to get into a fight with Ashley. She also expressed remorse for her death death. But again, she made it clear that she came to her home where she lived with her fiancé Daniel and their children. This was exactly what she said earlier that day, but Antonetta eventually hung her head and said that it was all too much. And shortly thereafter, she told detectives that she wasn't going to say any more and that she wanted an attorney.
I will say that, I don't go out looking to harm anybody. That's not my intention. I do feel, very remorseful about anything that has happened with that young lady. I will also say that, it wasn't my intention to even get into an altercation with her today. She came over to my place of residence looking for my fiance. We argued. I was hit. We fought. I feel really bad, but I don't know. I'm just, this is just too much.
Love, respect, and strength. That's a tough question. That might be my best answer, Yasser. That reminds me of high school, that one, but that may have been the toughest question.
I don't.
You think Joe Biden could have done that? I don't think so.
I don't know how to feel.
I don't think so.
We're almost at the end, Mr. President.
On the other hand, Janine was surprisingly talkative and upbeat in the other interrogation room just down the hall. She started by telling detectives Araya and Carter that Antonetta and Daniel hadn't been on good terms and that they had been arguing a lot. Janine said things got worse after an incident with the in-laws on a recent trip to Florida where they attended a family member's wedding. She told them that Daniel told her about the affair with Ashley and that she, in turn, told Antonetta because she was closer to her than she was to her own brother. Then Janine described Antonetta's reaction to the news and told investigators that they saw Daniel and Ashley walking together near Quick Trip the very next day.
Told her what happened. He explained what she did or whatever. She was like, oh, really? She's upset, whatever. I was like, don't tell him that because he's going to be mad at me.
According to Janine, Ashley came to the apartment because Antonetta and Daniel were splitting up, and she was kicking him out of the apartment. She readily admitted that there was a fight that afternoon and that she and Antonetta took Ashley's phone. However, she said they only took it because they wanted to call her fiancé to tell him that Ashley was cheating on him.
And Antonetta saw the messages, so she decides, like, yeah, now she's about to come see you. Now I'm about to beat her up because you just saved me from her the other day. No, that's how it was. So she's coming. So Antonetta and me, we go, and she comes to the house. Big fight. Big fight. So after the fight.
We wouldn't have had October 7th.
We took her phone. We were going to call her husband to let her know that there's some out.
She also told them that Ashley came to the apartment when the fight was over and that they gave her phone back, and that they had no idea what happened after that because they closed the door and went back inside.
I don't know what the hell happened after that.
Next, Detective Araya asked Janine if she had ever been in a fight. She said that she had, and she got a little flirty when he told her she had wide shoulders and an athletic build.
I really look athletic. Yeah, you look athletic. You got some shoulders on you. Why would you do that? You don't know if I just care about these shoulders.
Janine already knew that Ashley was dead and that she was involved in the fight that led to her death. But even so, she was smiley and lighthearted throughout the entire interview. To be fair, she was only 17 years old, and as such, it's possible that she did not understand the magnitude of the situation. Then again, she may have known full well how serious things were. If so, acting inappropriately casual and friendly may have been the only way she knew how to deal with the stress. Whatever the case, Janine described the fight and admitted that she did more than just hold the camera. She said she was surprised that Ashley kept talking during the fight, even though she was the one son getting beaten up.
Tell us about that. Like, how did that happen? It was very vivid. I know it happened so fast. You know, fights are just like a blur when it happens. But
where was she? I know you said earlier she came looking for him.
She came because he was moving. He was getting kicked out, and she wanted to be a little writer. Well, she knows she was eccentric, and she got a husband at home.
I know she's breaking up a happy home. But where was she at? Like,
no, she has a husband as well.
Yeah, no, but where was she at?
What do you mean?
You said she came and looked for him. Where was she at? How did y'all make contact with her?
We're going to do a great advertising.
Through messages. She was in our complex. I guess she lives like right near us.
Detectives established a good rapport with Janine in the early going, but the atmosphere in the room changed instantly when they confronted her with the glaring inconsistency in her story. She initially claimed that Ashley was texting Antonetta that morning. However, the detectives knew that she and Antonetta took Daniel's phone while he was sleeping and used it to lure Ashley to the apartment complex.
How did you guys find the messages again?
His phone.
Okay, did you find it or did she find it?
She found it.
Antoinette? Okay. How did she, like, where were you at? Did you come?
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, everybody.
She came to me with reading messages.
But thank you, Richard, for the introduction, and thank you to all for such a warm welcome. It's great to be back in beautiful Miami, where I've actually built a lot of great buildings with the Desert family and some others. We've had tremendous success.
Did you guys send messages to her?
Trump Towers.
No, we don't get her number.
No, I mean from his phone.
Oh, from his phone?
4 beautiful buildings right on the ocean. The Trump Grande.
You sure?
In the end for a little.
Yeah, because you messed up your story a little bit.
Trump Grande.
I already read the messages.
700-acre Doral.
What was the messages?
He wasn't getting kicked out.
Tremendous country club, and it's actually the most successful country club in the U.S. where I was just given a
I don't know.
1,500 units, and I couldn't
At the
care
end of
less
the
about
interview,
building
Janine
units when your
seemed
president,
mildly
who the hell wants
amused
to
when
build
detectives told her that she was being charged with robbery. She laughed and admitted that they took Ashley's phone, but she reminded them that they gave it back later. After this short exchange, they told Janine that she was also going to be charged with murder.
I told you she wasn't leaving unless we gave her back her phone. We just did it to recall her husband and we traded him out.
Okay.
And I want to thank Bear.
She said it was okay for you to take it?
No.
Okay, yeah, that's a robbery. Other charge is murder.
Murder?
Yeah.
And thank you for the endorsement when I ran. I was very appreciative. Along with the mayor of Miami Beach.
Janine said it was crazy, that life was crazy, and that it was too bad. According to her, all she did was pull Ashley's hair.
American business leaders, some of the biggest business leaders.
At the end of the interview, Janine laughed and joked with the photographer who took her mugshot. She and Antonetta were arrested and charged with robbery, aggravated battery, and felony murder, and transported to the Gwinnett County Jail, where they were held without bond. Daniel had injuries all over his back and shoulders when Gwinnett homicide detectives showed up at his apartment later that night. He couldn't say how he got the injuries, but Antonetta may have attacked him before or after the altercation with Ashley. Whatever the case, it was apparent from the very beginning that he had feelings for Ashley and that he was concerned for her. He even gave detectives his phone and told them that they could search through his call and text records to help them figure out who instigated the fight.
The only thing she said is, why would you do this to me? And I told her, like, we're not, like, the love interest is gone, everything. Like, I told her this yesterday. She saw me walking with this girl.
Oh, okay.
I stopped her. I was like, you're not gonna fight her because of what we're going through. It's not her fault, you know.
Did she message Ashley from your phone,
and I'm pretty
pretending to be you?
Yes.
Then, when he asked how Ashley was, they told him they had just found out from the hospital.
As well as my own special envoy to the Middle East, who's really done a fantastic job, Steve Witkoff. Thank you, Steve. He's been busy. And Michael Waltz is here. Where is Michael? Michael's been so busy. They've been going back and forth and back. And a woman who is just voted the most powerful woman anywhere in the world. No, I'm going to go with Princess Rima, but she was voted the most powerful woman anywhere in the world, Susie Wiles. Thank you. Thank you. Most powerful woman. That's pretty good. We have to talk to you about that, Susie. It's pretty good. And also, we all know Jared Kushner, a very special guy. Thank you, Jared. Thank you, Jared. And Elon Musk. He's been making a little news lately, hasn't he, though? Very positive news. Stand up, Elon. He's a great guy. We did a little show last night. I heard they got very good ratings, too, by the way. We did. Hannity. Sean Hannity was fantastic, a fantastic man, a fantastic guy, and he did a show, and it was great being on the show with you last night. I come today with a simple message for business leaders from all across the nation and all around the world. If you want to build the future, push boundaries, unleash breakthroughs, transform industries, and make a fortune, because you want to make a fortune. Most of you have already made a fortune. I don't want to say that. There's no better place on earth than the current and future United States of America under a certain president named Donald J. Trump. I think that you're going to do very well. They're saying that November 5th, Election Day, 2024 will go down as one of the most important days in the history of our country. They said in 129 years, the most consequential election. I don't know if they're right about that or not, but it sounds good. I wanted to see if I could get a couple of more years tacked on, but I figured the fight wasn't really worth it. 129 is a lot. And as of January 20th, 2025, the dark days of high taxes, crushing regulations, rampant inflation, flagrant corruption, government weaponization. Oh, I know about weaponization. And total incompetence will be gone forever. They'll be gone forever. Because the United States is back and open for business, and the golden age of America has officially begun. You see it happening. Since my election, America's economic engines have come roaring back to life in just a very short period of time. Think of it, from November 5th, the progress that's been made has been amazing. The NASDAQ is up nearly 10% in just a few months, and that's a lot. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 2,200 points, and Bitcoin has set multiple all-time record highs because everyone knows that I'm committed to making America the crypto capital. We want to stay at the forefront of everything, and one of them is crypto, and Miami seems to be the center of the action, come to think of it, and maybe it'll stay there. Business optimism skyrocketed 42 points. Think of that in a single month, the most in history by far. That's the biggest increase in history by not even close. The ISM index of manufacturing activity surged into positive territory for the first time in many years. Amazing. And it was just announced, this is an interesting one, I didn't realize it was that bad for so long, but it was just announced by one of the nation's most historically accurate and respected pollsters, Rasmussen, that the number of Americans who believe our country is on the right track now exceeds those who think it's heading in the wrong direction for the first time in 20 years. Can you believe that? 20 years. And this is really a seismic 27-point swing from just before the election. Nobody's ever seen anything like that one, yes, sir. I want to tell you, that's a big one. The best and most successful business leaders on earth are now racing to invest in the United States. Since November, DeMac has announced plans to invest $40 billion in the U.S., creating at least 10,000 jobs. SoftBank has announced investments of between $100 and $200 billion, creating at least 100,000 American jobs. Oracle and OpenAI and SoftBank are now collectively committing $500 billion to keep the United States on the cutting edge of artificial intelligence, and so many more. I mean, so many companies that want to come to the White House and
what's your name?
Have a little news conference all the time.
Adlai. Are you okay, man?
You just announce it, but they want to come and I'll do that. I don't mind doing that. You say anytime they want to go 10
Hello,
million
Sheriff's
or more,
Office.
I'm there.
How you doing, sir?
My family rushed me.
Rushed you where?
my room.
But on his recent visit to the White House, the Prime Minister of Japan
Come on here real quick, then.
Yes, sir.
What are you talking about, dude? Yeah, do you have any weapons on you right now?
Yeah, I do.
Hold on, no, don't reach.
No, I do.
Go on, turn around.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
You just gonna tell me what's going on, okay? So my family's trying to walk into my room, and they're trying to get my horse. And my dad couldn't get it approved. My sister has a sledgehammer.
So many years, couldn't get it approved. I got it approved.
But however, I found their bodies and their wounds were healed.
Got it approved again.
Okay.
Do you want me to show you?
We're going to be
In a minute, okay?
It's probably the largest deposit
I know, like,
anywhere in the world.
I found in the hood, and then
What do you?
they're convulsing, they're biting their arms.
So we hope that's correct.
What's your parents' name?
Nancy,
Only happened
David.
because of the
What's your name?
world-changing
Adlai.
results of the
Adlai?
Adlai.
Are you okay, man?
Yeah, no, I'm on some shit.
You shook up?
Vehicle is still moving. It's an RV. A resident is on 37 northbound passing through Cherry, pulling a RV that's on fire. Correction, smoking. Across fire dispatch 1657.
for the first time.
I don't know what happened.
A single state of the 50 states. Shifted Republican. It's never happened.
You have blood on your hands.
Either way, it's never happened.
My dad rushed me, I hit him, and then my mom was like, you need to die. And I was
Voted
like,
for Trump.
turn around.
Look at that.
So I can show you where the bodies are.
No, just hold on. Just hold on. Hey, hold on. We have to detain them in the car, okay?
They're over there, like,
Are they in the house?
no, shit looks scary. They were biting their arms, and there was like hot boil on the ground. Is that normal?
Just kind of hang out for me for a minute, okay? We have to figure some stuff out.
Adlai appears to be in a state of insanity, claiming that his family attacked him, that he killed them, and that their injuries mysteriously disappeared. Clearly, something is very, very wrong. Terrified by the situation, the officers immediately call for dozens of backup deputies to help clear the house. Anyone could be hiding anywhere.
Our first and most urgent mission is to remove the criminals that
County Sheriff's Office! Anybody inside? Come out with your hands up, open and empty! Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office! Anybody inside? Make your presence known!
They came from prisons and jails. They came from
I got open doors to the right.
institutions and insane asylums. They were gang members.
You guys take left, I got right.
Bernalillo County Sheriff's
They were
Office!
allowed to come into our country.
Bernalillo County Sheriff's
We're getting
Office!
them out.
Alright, we'll move. You guys take the doors to the left, I'll hold right. Go. Take.
Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office!
She's doing a fantastic job.
Coming up to you.
South Dakota. And
Is all
Tom
this
Bowman,
clear?
you know.
Jen and Oscar, where you guys at?
Job. And
Alright, we're moving up to
the
you.
results are incredible. And every country is taking them back.
Yeah.
They're sending their criminals to us, and they're all taking them
Yeah,
back. We had a little
back there.
problem with a couple
Yeah,
of them
okay.
that ended
Sheriff's
up
Office!
with we don't really want MS-13 back in our country.
Sheriff's
Congratulations for taking them back.
Shell casings.
And by the way, Europe and
The
other
house
places
was
start to
empty,
start
but
also
blood
doing that.
was
They better start
splattered
looking
everywhere
into
inside the
hurting
home,
Europe
on
very,
walls,
very badly. And they
floors,
better get smart and they
beds.
better get tough before it doesn't live.
Adlai wasn't
We're also
lying.
working to end the
Humans
highest
had
inflation
died
in our country's
inside that
history,
home.
caused
The
because
bodies,
of
however, were nowhere to be found. So officers decide to continue to search around the property, and this is where they would discover something horrifying.
before levels.
You see
If
blood
Joe
on
Biden
shrubs
had
anywhere?
simply held federal spending at the pre-pandemic levels we had in 2019, we right now would have virtually no inflation.
You gotta
We're
check out
trying
here
to
for Jack
balance the
Marks.
budget immediately, and because of the tariff income, which is really, it's already turned out to be amazing, actually.
Blood.
It's really meant more for
Engine 12, be advised,
countries and
they did not exit. They continued to
our
south
country.
368.
Okay, I got him.
The numbers are rather staggering. Because we're the big piggy bank that everybody wants.
Those are the bodies of Adlai's father, Raimundo, mother, Bertha, and sister, Braille. They were face down, with bloodstains on the grass, indicating that they were dragged out there. Paramedics would be called to rush the three to the hospital, but they were pronounced dead on the scene. Adlai would be placed into a patrol vehicle to be transported over to the sheriff's office, but he would leave police with even more disturbing remarks in the process.
We have breaking news. He didn't make
Yes, sir.
it. He did.
I'm going to move the other seat, but then...
But we'll get it done. Could be this year.
Did you see their corpses? They're foaming out the mouth.
We're talking about 10 years, 15 years, 20 years.
Can you find the bodies?
When I took office last month,
Their wound is healed.
consequences
Is that normal?
of
That's not
inflation,
normal.
that
They're
was
like
more
black
than
up
4
now.
times what it was
Did y'all take a picture?
when I left.
Did you see that? Grabbing his dog?
I left, it was at 1.4%. And the annual government
Adlai's
spending
strange
over
demeanor can
$1.5
only be
trillion
described
more
as
than projected
psychotic.
in
His
2020
entire
alone.
family was
1.5
dead, yet
trillion.
he remained calm as if nothing had even
Trump
happened.
administration,
Whatever
all of that
caused
has changed
Adlai to
faster
commit
and
these
more
acts
dramatically than
needs to be
anyone ever
answered.
thought possible.
So whenever one arrived to the sheriff's office, detectives would waste no time bringing Adlai into the interrogation room for intense questioning. Unbeknownst to him, this interrogation would cause the most chaotic day of these officers' lives.
Federal regulation freeze and a foreign aid freeze. I signed an order creating government efficiency and put a man named Elon Musk in charge. Thank you, Elon, for doing it.
So before I take you out, man, no problem, right? No problem down here.
And he's doing a great job.
No problem.
You could have
You need
seen
water or
last
anything?
night. It's really, you know, he's a very committed person.
You're okay?
He's a very serious person.
Understandable.
Given the violent nature of Adlai's horrific attacks, taking off his handcuffs is way outside standard procedure, something they would soon have to pay
He's got his
for.
faults also, I will tell you that. But not too many of them, which is now really waging
Like I said,
war
my name's
on government
Cameron,
waste,
with the
fraud, and
sheriff's
abuse,
office.
and
Case
they're
I'm one of the
curbing
detectives
inflation and saving taxpayers
that's
billions
out
and
here.
billions of dollars
Just
every
gonna
single
kinda
day, and there's
talk to you
even,
about what happened
under
today,
consideration a new concept
Okay.
where we give 20%
So obviously,
Doge
seems like a
savings
lot
to American
went on
citizens and
today.
20%
So,
goes to paying
you know,
down debt because
I
the
would like
numbers
to
are
ask you a few
incredible,
questions about
Elon.
what went
many
down.
billions
So,
of dollars, billions, hundreds of billions.
first off,
We're
you
thinking
run
about
this,
giving
your
20%
first
back to the
around 9
American
p.m. we're like
citizens
facing,
and
there's like
20%
sideways
down to pay back
so
debt,
I'm just
and pay
aiming
down
at
debt, which is,
cell towers.
if you look
big
at
bins,
value, if
yeah,
it were a real estate
and then out there now,
balance
a lot of
sheet,
sideways,
the debt is
and a lot
tiny,
of
but we
women
still
were hurt.
want to pay
So,
it down. Doesn't
then I
matter.
help a woman.
We don't look at it as
only
a real
better.
estate, it's America. We're going to get it down through intelligence,
Came
hard
down
work,
submarine,
and
the next
as
thing you know,
Elon said, a word called caring. You have to
they're only
care.
down for like 30%.
By doing this, Americans will
Next thing you
tell
know,
us
the south
where
wave
there's
wouldn't stop.
waste. They'll be
My
reporting
family
it themselves.
started
They
to move.
participate in the process of saving money. So
9:30,
many of the men and women
just
in this
moved on.
room, as an
Fresh.
example, they pay tremendous
Then
amounts of
around like
taxes.
9:30,
And
I
here
just
are
showed
just
up.
a few examples of where your money was going before I came along. These are just some of the, just taken at random. Oh, there are much worse examples.
Whether or not Adlai intentionally appears to be unstable, his words indicate he's in a state of mental insanity. His depiction of what happened today is clearly imaginary and similar to someone suffering from schizophrenia. The detective will have to go along with these hallucinations in an attempt to try to get to the reality of the situation.
We'll be reading just some taken at random, $2 million for sex change operations in Guatemala.
So let's talk. I want to talk real quick about your family. Who lives at the house?
$20 million. That's a lot of money.
Your mom? What's your mom's
To
name?
do those things, you get a cast over for.
Let me just make sure I have that information.
Give him a couple
Mom,
bucks tip.
and then
That's it. Not 20 million.
who else?
20 million. That's
Who's your
Gone
sister?
with the Wind on steroids.
Rhea?
$101 million for 29 diversity, equity, and inclusion
And then
contracts
your
at
dad.
the Department of Education. Wow. And we've also canceled, all of these. Saved all of this money.
David?
And again, this is just a small sample.
So I know you want to talk about all
I could
these
read them all day.
ways and stuff. I want to hear about.
$520 million
But I need to
for
know.
a consultant. I want to know who is that
Do you have
consultant?
any firearms?
What kind of firearms?
ESG, that's environmental, social, and governance.
Tell me what happened inside the house with your mom and dad.
$25 million to promote biodiversity conservation and illicit livelihoods by developing socially responsible behavior.
Control time 1706.
$40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that even means. None of this stuff, nobody.
And when you
Everyone's
say
trying
you
to
had
figure
to,
out what the hell does it all mean? $42 million for social and behavior changes in Uganda. $40 million is a lot of newspaper ads in Uganda. $70 million for research of evidence-based solutions for development challenges. $10 million for Mozambique medical male circumcision. What does that mean? $2.3 million for strengthening independent voices in Cambodia.
So today,
$14 million
you're not in
for
trouble if you
improving
did,
public procurement in Serbia.
today did you
$486
take any
million
type of drugs or anything
to
like
the
that?
Consortium for
So you've
Elections
been
and Political
sober?
Process Strengthening,
What were you
including
usually on?
$22 million for
Basically.
inclusion, inclusive,
Have you ever been
participatory political
to the
process
doctor
in
for
Moldova.
any type of mental health
And
issues?
$21 million
Or you-
for voter turnout in India. What do we need to spend $21 million for voter turnout in India?
Oh, really?
Wow, $21 million. I guess they were trying to get somebody.
And why
else
do you say
elected.
that?
Well, we ought to tell the Indian government, because when we hear that Russia spent about $2 in
Oh, wow.
our country, it was a
Okay.
big deal, right? They took,
Well, so
they
this
took
is what's
some
going to happen,
internet
okay?
ads for $2,000.
We have a few things we got to do today. It's going to be a little while.
India.
I got to go talk to my partner. try to
$29
figure out
million to
what all
strengthen
happened.
the
We got to
political
figure this out,
landscape in
okay? If you need anything, just knock on the door or just say
$20
hello.
million for fiscal
and I'll come back
federalism and
and,
$19
help you
million
with whatever you need, okay?
in addition to the
All right.
$21 million
Sounds good, thank you.
for biodiversity
Please not alter.
conversion in
I will not alter
Nepal.
it. You'll get a copy of these.
$1.5 million
You'll get a
for
copy
voter
when we're done.
confidence in
Okay?
Liberia. We need voter confidence too when you read this list.
Chance to potentially
$14
harm
million
himself.
for
When a
social
suspect is
cohesion
even remotely
in
showing
Mali.
signs of mental instability, they
$2.5
should be
million
under law
for
enforcement
inclusive
supervision the entire
democracies in
time.
South
This is
Africa.
further proven when
$47
Adlai
million
decides
for
to have a
improving
conversation
learning
with an
outcomes in
imaginary
Asia. Asia's
figure
doing
in the
very well.
room.
We don't need to give them
Battalion 3 from Engine 11.
Does he even have it?
$50 million plus another $50 million for condoms for Hamas. You know about that?
After talking to the imaginary figure, Adlai proceeds to take his water bottle and relieve himself in it.
$100 million.
Animal, magistrate, got.
And these are just some. I could read this list all day long. I just don't want to bore you. But these are just some, not nearly as bad as others, and some are just.
Angel, unlock the door. Unlock the door.
We're also finding tremendous abuse, waste, and fraud in Social Security. Social Security is what's going to be one of the great potential scandals in history.
To control consciousness of Angel. Amen.
On the program, there are over 4.7 million Social Security numbers.
After spending so much time alone in his room, Adlai, perhaps out of frustration, strikes the wall. This seemingly random act would uncover something. Something that would change everything.
Thousands and thousands of people. But listen to this, 3.6 million people are on Social Security rolls from the age of 110 years old to 119. There are really that many. Those people are seriously old. But it gets worse, 3.47 million.
Adlai would make a run for it down the hallway, but the loud noise had already alerted an officer, and he quickly rushed to stop the escaping suspect.
120 years old to 129.
Stop! Put your hands down. Turn around. You're gonna die back. Turn around. Put your hands behind your back. Turn around. Put your hands behind your back.
From 130
Put your hands behind your back.
to 139.
What are you doing, brother?
A very close call, but they managed to stop Adlai before it was too late. They realized their grave mistake of leaving Adlai to himself, so now they'd keep a very close eye on him as they transported him to a more secure location. Adlai was finally secured, and the tragic events that took place on October 13th, 2024 would finally come to an end. As of today, Adlai remains in custody while he awaits his trial. Whether or not he will be ruled as mentally insane is still something to be determined. But judging by his statements given to detectives, he'll likely receive a prison sentence with mandatory mental health treatment during incarceration.
And over 130,000 people are on Social Security over the age of 160 years old, okay? Including 1,039 people, think of it, over 1,000 people between the ages of 220 to 229. And one person...
Hundreds of billions of dollars a year with China, and now they're not doing any business with us, you know, because, not because of them, because of me. Because at 145% you can't do business. But something's going to happen that's going to be positive.
Did you and the First Lady have a nice birthday dinner?
We had a great dinner. She's a great First Lady. People loved her. And the funeral was beautiful. It was a beautiful funeral. As funerals go, it was a beautiful funeral.
The Wisconsin judge is being prosecuted by the FBI for sheltering someone that ICE was trying to detain. Do you have any thoughts about that Wisconsin judge?
Well, I think it's horrible. I think the whole thing is horrible with judges, with what's going on, and they shouldn't be doing that. That's very dangerous territory. And we have to be able to do what I ran on. I ran on a campaign of taking criminals out of our country, murderers, drug dealers, people that are insane, moved out of insane asylums and mental institutions. These are insane people. And I won on the fact that we're going to be doing this. We have to be allowed to do it. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country any longer. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
replace him, but I decided not to do it.
Vladimir Putin after your meeting with Vladimir Zelensky, and how did that meeting go?
I think the meeting went well. We'll see what happens over the next few days. We'll probably learn a lot. I was very disappointed that missiles were flying by Russia, but that missiles were flying. Very disappointing. We'll see how it goes. On the Iran situation, I think we're doing very well. I think a deal's going to be made there. That's going to happen. Pretty sure it's going to happen. We'll have something without having to start dropping bombs all over the place.
Trust President Putin?
Say it again?
Trust President Putin?
You know, in about 2 weeks. It was very nice to meet you the other night. I was very proud of you. They had your picture up, everything. Very proud of you. I know him.
What did Zelensky tell you that made you reassured?
Well, it wasn't that. It was just, look, they have a tough road ahead, okay? And we had a good meeting. It was a nice meeting. It was a beautiful meeting. I'll tell you, it's the nicest office I've ever seen. It was a beautiful.
Everything? Yes, sir.
He was very, look, he wants to do something good for his country. Thinks he's doing a good job, and he's working hard. We'll see what happens. It's a very complicated deal. He told me that he needs more weapons, but he's been saying that for 3 years, He needs more weapons, and we're going to see what happens. I want to see what happens with respect to Russia. Because Russia had been surprised and disappointed, very disappointed that they did the bombing of those places after discussions. Yeah, I will.
President Zelensky talked to you about Crimea?
Well, he did, very briefly, but Crimea was given away by Barack Hussein Obama and by Biden. That's 11 or 12 years ago. That's a long time ago. I don't know how you can bring up Crimea, because that's been a long time. Nobody brought it up for 12 years, and now they bring it up now. So I told them, you can maybe go back to Obama, ask him why they gave it up. They gave it up without a shot being fired, by the way.
What do you want Vladimir Putin to do?
Well, I want him to stop shooting, sit down, and sign a deal. And we have the confines of a deal, I believe, and I want him to sign it and be done with it and just go back to life.
What punitive action are you considering taking against Russia?
Well, I have a lot of things I can do. I'm not looking to do it, but I have a lot of strength. We built the United States up. I think we're more respected now as a country maybe than ever before. There's no more games. You have somebody that knows what he's doing, not like the previous person who didn't have a clue. So, I want to end that. I want to end the Iran situation if we can. And we have other things too. We got plenty of problems in the world. When I left 4.5 years ago, I left, and I'll tell you what, we didn't have any of these problems. The good news is costs are way down, groceries are down, eggs are down, gasoline is way down. It's all coming down. It's all looking good. The tariffs are strong. We're taking in a lot of money from tariffs. We were losing a lot before I got here. We were losing billions of dollars a day, and now we're doing great, and we haven't even kicked in yet. And eventually we'll be reducing taxes very substantially for the people of our country, because the money is so great coming in from tariffs that I'll be able to reduce taxes to a very large extent, and maybe almost completely.
Keep saying 2 weeks about President Putin. What is 2 weeks? Give us, what is the actual date? What is the timeline?
2 weeks or less, and if it's a little more at the time, I say, but they're losing a lot of people. We have 3,000-4,000 people dying every single week. That's a lot of people to lose. You can imagine parents waving from Ukraine and from Russia, waving to their son as he leaves. And, a week later he's dead on a battlefield, all carved up and chopped up. I've seen it. I see the satellite pictures. They're horrible. They're horrible. I would say it can't get any worse. Body parts laying all over. I don't even like looking at them. Body parts laying all over the fields. What are they doing? It would have never started if I were president.
Is your relationship with President Zelensky better now than things were in the Oval Office?
It was never bad. We had a little dispute because I disagreed with something he said, and the cameras were rolling, and that was okay with me. But we had a dispute. But look, he's in a tough situation, a very tough situation. He's fighting a much bigger force. Much bigger. And that force has not been very distinguished. You know, it's been a lot tougher than they thought, but it helped them when we gave them $350 billion worth of weapons or cash.
Is Zelensky ready to give up Crimea, do you think, Mr. President?
Oh, I think so, yeah. Look, Crimea was 12 years ago. That was President Obama. They gave it up without a shot being fired. So don't talk to me about Crimea. Talk to Obama and Biden about Crimea.
I was just wondering what Zelensky thought.
And remember, this is Biden's war. This isn't Trump's war. I came in to try and solve the problem. And the problem is so many people are being killed. By the way, Saquon, what a great guy. You see the conditioning. His conditioning's pretty good. Better than you, better than you.
Did you have a reaction to Virginia Guthrie suicide in Australia?
Well, it's a very sad situation, the whole thing. That whole situation is very sad, her and others. And so certainly that's a horrible thing, horrible.
One more on Zelensky. You know, the last meeting you had was pretty rough. Did you sense a different attitude now? And if so,
I do. I see him as calmer. I think he understands the picture. And I think he wants to make a deal. I don't know if he wants to make a deal. I think he wants to make a deal.
Thank you, sir. Did you talk to me about tariffs yesterday? Did any foreign leaders approach you and ask for...
I did, and you probably saw. I think every foreign leader approached me and said hello, and a lot of good relationships. And we're going to be taking in a tremendous amount of money. We're going to be taking in a lot of jobs, a lot of plants and factories. They're already coming. I mean, you see it. And we're going to make a lot of money, and we're going to cut taxes for the people of this country. It'll take a little while before we do that, but we're going to be cutting taxes, and it's possible we'll do a complete tax cut, because I think the tariffs will be enough to cut all of the income tax. Now, we have a lot of debt that's been left to us, you know, unfortunately over many years. We'll take care of that, but the tariffs, if people only understood the tariffs, we're going to be giving people of this country a tremendous tax cut. And we're going to start with people making less than $200,000 a year.
Any movement on China? Because China says
a little bit. Look, a little bit. They want to make a deal, obviously. Right now, they're not doing business with us. You know, people talk about going cold turkey with China, meaning just forget about it. And we were losing hundreds of billions of dollars a year with China. And now they're not doing any business with us, you know, not because of them, because of me. Because at 145%, you can't do business. But something's going to happen that's going to be positive.
Did you and the First Lady have a nice birthday dinner on the
We had a great dinner. She's a great First Lady. People loved her. And the funeral was beautiful. It was a beautiful funeral. As funerals go, it was a beautiful funeral.
The Wisconsin judge is being prosecuted by the FBI for sheltering someone that ICE was trying to detain. Do you have any thoughts about that Wisconsin judge?
Well, I think it's horrible. I think the whole thing is horrible with judges, with what's going on, and they shouldn't be doing that. That's very dangerous territory. And we have to be able to do what I ran on. I ran on a campaign of taking criminals out of our country, murderers, drug dealers, people that are insane, moved out of insane asylums and mental institutions. These are insane people. And I won on the fact that we're going to be doing this. We have to be allowed to do it. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country any longer. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
What a nice guy he is. I wanted to race him, but I decided not to do it.
With Vladimir Putin after your meeting with Vladimir Zelensky, and how did that meeting go?
I think the meeting went well. We'll see what happens over the next few days. We'll probably learn a lot. I was very disappointed that missiles were flying by Russia, but that missiles were flying. Very disappointing. We'll see how it goes. On the Iran situation, I think we're doing very well. I think a deal's going to be made there. That's going to happen. Pretty sure it's going to happen. We'll have something without having to start dropping bombs all over the place.
Trust President Putin?
Say it again?
You trust President Putin?
You know, in about 2 weeks. It was very nice at the dinner the other night. I was very proud of you. They had your picture up, everything. Very proud of you. I know him.
What did Zelensky tell you that made you reassured?
Well, it wasn't that. It was just, look, they have a tough road ahead, okay? And we had a good meeting. It was a nice meeting. It was a beautiful meeting. I'll tell you, it's the nicest office I've ever seen. It was a beautiful, beautiful scene. He was very, look, he wants to do something good for his country. Thinks he's doing a good job, and he's working hard. We'll see what happens. It's a very complicated deal. He told me that he needs more weapons, but he's been saying that for 3 years, He needs more weapons, and we're going to see what happens. I want to see what happens with respect to Russia. Because Russia, I've been surprised and disappointed, very disappointed that they did the bombing of those places after discussions.
Can you talk to Putin again?
Yeah, I will.
Did President Zelensky talk to you about Crimea?
Well, he did, very briefly, but Crimea was given away by Barack Hussein Obama and by Biden. That's 11 or 12 years ago. That's a long time ago. I don't know how you can bring up Crimea, because that's been a long time. Nobody brought it up for 12 years, and now they bring it up now. So I told them, you can maybe go back to Obama, ask him why they gave it up. They gave it up without a shot being fired, by the way.
What do you want Vladimir Putin to do?
Well, I want him to stop shooting, sit down, and sign a deal. And we have the confines of a deal, I believe, and I want him to sign it and be done with it and just go back to life.
What punitive action are you considering taking against Russia?
Well, I have a lot of things I can do. I'm not looking to do it, but I have a lot of strength. We built the United States up. I think we're more respected now as a country maybe than ever before. There's no more games. You have somebody that knows what he's doing, not like the previous person who didn't have a clue. So, I want to end that. I want to end the Iran situation if we can. And we have other things too. We got plenty of problems in the world. When I left 4.5 years ago, and I'll tell you what, we didn't have any of these problems. The good news is costs are way down, groceries are down, eggs are down, gasoline is way down. It's all coming down. It's all looking good. The tariffs are strong. We're taking in a lot of money from tariffs. We were losing a lot before I got here. We were losing billions of dollars a day, and now we're doing great, and we haven't even kicked in yet. And eventually we'll be reducing taxes very substantially for the people of our country because the money is so great coming in from tariffs that I'll be able to reduce taxes to a very large extent and maybe almost completely.
Keep saying 2 weeks about President Putin. What is 2 weeks? Give us, what is the actual date? What is the timeline?
2 weeks or less, and if it's a little more at the time, I say, but you know, they're losing a lot of people. We have 3,000-4,000 people dying every single week. That's a lot of people to lose. You can imagine parents waving from Ukraine and from Russia, waving to their son as he leaves, and you know, a week later he's dead on a battlefield, all carved up and chopped up. I've seen it. I see the satellite pictures. They're horrible. They're horrible. I would say it can't get any worse. Body parts laying all over. I don't even like looking at them. Body parts laying all over the fields. What are they doing? It would have never started if I were president.
Is your relationship with President Zelensky better now than things were in the Oval Office?
It was never bad. We had a little dispute because I disagreed with something he said, and the cameras were rolling, and that was okay with me. But we had a dispute. But look, he's in a tough situation, a very tough situation. He's fighting a much bigger force, much bigger. And that force has not been very distinguished. You know, it's been a lot tougher than they thought, but it helped them when we gave them $350 billion worth of weapons or cash.
Is Zelensky ready to give up Crimea, do you think, Mr. President?
Oh, I think so, yeah. Look, Crimea was 12 years ago. That was President Obama. They gave it up without a shot being fired. So don't talk to me about Crimea. Talk to Obama and Biden about Crimea.
I was just wondering what Zelensky thought.
And remember, this is Biden's war. This isn't Trump's war. I came in to try and solve the problem. And the problem is so many people are being killed. By the way, Saquon, what a great guy. You see the conditioning.
And we just got a call for a...
Better than you, better than me.
Well, if he's reminding that she got through with here to fall and voted on the street now.
Well, it's a very sad situation, the whole thing. That whole situation is very sad. Her and so certainly that's a horrible thing. Horrible.
The last meeting you had was pretty rough.
I see him as calmer. I think he understands the picture, and I think he wants to make a deal. I don't know if he wants to make a deal. I think he wants to make a deal. Thank you, sir.
Did you talk to me about tariffs yesterday? Did any foreign leaders approach you and ask for...
I did, and you probably saw. I think every foreign leader approached me and said hello, and a lot of good relationships. And we're going to be taking in a tremendous amount of money. We're going to be taking in a lot of jobs, a lot of plants and factories. They're already coming. I mean, you see it. And we're going to make a lot of money, and we're going to cut taxes for the people of this country. It'll take a little while before we do that. But we're going to be cutting taxes. And it's possible we'll do a complete tax cut, because I think the tariffs will be enough to cut all of the income tax. Now, we have a lot of debt that's been left to us, you know, unfortunately, over many years. We'll take care of that. But the tariffs, if people only understood the tariffs, we're going to be giving people of this country a tremendous tax cut. And we're going to start with people making less than $200,000 a year.
Is there any movement on China? Because China said
a little bit. Look, a little bit. They want to make a deal, obviously. Right now, they're not doing business with us. You know, people talk about going cold turkey with China, meaning just forget about it. We were losing hundreds of billions of dollars a year with China, and now they're not doing any business with us, you know, not because of them, because of me. Because at 145%, you can't do business. But something's going to happen that's going to be positive.
Did you and the First Lady have a nice birthday dinner on the
We had a great dinner. She's a great First Lady. People loved her. And the funeral was beautiful. It was a beautiful funeral. As funerals go, it was a beautiful funeral.
The Wisconsin judge is being prosecuted by the FBI for sheltering someone that ICE was trying to detain. Do you have any thoughts about that Wisconsin judge?
Well, I think it's horrible. I think the whole thing is horrible with judges, with what's going on. And They shouldn't be doing that. That's very dangerous territory. And we have to be able to do what I ran on. I ran on a campaign of taking criminals out of our country, murderers, drug dealers, people that are insane, moved out of insane asylums and mental institutions. These are insane people. And I won on the fact that we're going to be doing this. We have to be allowed to do it. Otherwise, we're not going to have a country any longer. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
not eligible class C that expired 2018 does have an IEP expiring 2028. Multiple entry.
What a nice guy he is. I wanted to race him, but I decided not to do it.
With Vladimir Putin after your meeting with Vladimir Zelensky, and how did that meeting go?
I think the meeting went well. We'll see what happens over the next few days. We'll probably learn a lot. I was very disappointed that missiles were flying by Russia, but that missiles were flying. Very disappointing. We'll see how it goes. On the Iran situation, I think we're doing very well. I think a deal's going to be made there. That's going to happen. Pretty sure it's going to happen. We'll have we'll have something without having to start dropping bombs all over the place.
Trust President Putin?
Say it again?
You trust President Putin?
You know, in about 2 weeks. It was very nice to meet you the other night. I was very proud of you. They had your picture up, everything. Very proud of you. I know him.
What information tell you that made you reassured?
Well, it wasn't that. It was just, look, they have a tough road ahead, okay? And we had a good meeting. It was a nice meeting. It was a beautiful meeting. I'll tell you, it's the nicest office I've ever seen. It was a beautiful, beautiful scene. He was very, look, he wants to do something good for his country. Thinks he's doing a good job, and he's working hard. We'll see what happens. It's a very complicated deal. He told me that he needs more weapons, but he's been saying that for 3 years, He needs more weapons, and we're going to see what happens. I want to see what happens with respect to Russia. Because Russia had been surprised and disappointed, very disappointed that they did the bombing of those places after discussions. Yeah, I will.
He talked to you about Crimea?
Well, he did, very briefly, but Crimea was given away by Barack Hussein Obama and by Biden. That's 11 or 12 years ago. That's a long time ago. I don't know how you can bring up Crimea, because that's been a long time. Nobody brought it up for 12 years, and now they bring it up now. So I told them, you can maybe go back to Obama, ask him why they gave it up. They gave it up without a shot being fired, by the way.
What do you want Vladimir Putin to do?
Well, I want him to stop shooting, sit down, and sign a deal. And we have the confines of a deal, I believe, and I want him to sign it and be done with it and just go back to life.
What punitive action are you considering taking against Russia?
Well, I have a lot of things I can do. I'm not looking to do it, but I have a lot of strength. We built the United States up. I think we're more respected now as a country maybe than ever before. There's no more games. You have somebody that knows what he's doing, not like the previous person who didn't have a clue. So, I want to end that. I want to end the Iran situation if we can. And we have other things too. We got plenty of problems in the world. When I left 4.5 years ago, I left, and I'll tell you what, we didn't have any of these problems. The good news is costs are way down, groceries are down, eggs are down, gasoline is way down. It's all coming down. It's all looking good. The tariffs are strong. We're taking in a lot of money from tariffs. We were losing a lot before I got here. We were losing billions of dollars a day, and now we're doing great, and we haven't even kicked in yet. And eventually we'll be reducing taxes very substantially for the people of our country, because the money is so great coming in from tariffs that I'll be able to reduce taxes to a very large extent, and maybe almost completely.
Keep saying 2 weeks about President Putin. What is 2 weeks? Give us, what is the actual date? What is the timeline?
2 weeks or less, and if it's a little more at the time, I say, but they're losing a lot of people. We have 3,000-4,000 people dying every single week. That's a lot of people to lose. You can imagine parents waving from Ukraine and from Russia, waving to their son as he leaves, and a week later he's dead on a battlefield, all carved up and chopped up. I've seen it. I see the satellite pictures. They're horrible. They're horrible. I would say it can't get any worse. Body parts laying all over. I don't even like looking at them. Body parts laying all over the fields. What are they doing? It would have never started if I were president.
Is your relationship with President Zelensky better now than things were in the Oval Office?
It was never bad. We had a little dispute because I disagreed with something he said, and the cameras were rolling, and that was okay with me. But we had a dispute. But look, he's in a tough situation, a very tough situation. He's fighting a much bigger force, much bigger. And that force has not been very distinguished. It's been a lot tougher than they thought, but it helped them when we gave them $350 billion worth of weapons or cash.
Is Zelensky ready to give up Crimea, do you think, Mr. President?
Oh, I think so, yeah. Look, Crimea was 12 years ago. That was President Obama. They gave it up without a shot being fired. So don't talk to me about Crimea. Talk to Obama and Biden about Crimea.
I was just wondering what Zelensky thought.
And remember, this is Biden's war. This isn't Trump's war. I came in to try and solve a problem. And the problem is so many people are being killed. By the way, Saquon, what a great guy. You see the conditioning. His conditioning's pretty good. Better than you, better than me.
Did you have a reaction to Virginia suicide? Do you have a reaction to Virginia Guthrie suicide in Australia?
Well, it's a very sad situation, the whole thing. That whole situation is very sad, her and others. And so certainly that's a horrible thing. Horrible.
One more on Zelensky. You know, the last meeting you had was pretty rough. Did you sense a different attitude now? And if so,
I do. I see him as calmer. I think he understands the picture. And I think he wants to make a deal. I don't know if he wants to make a deal. I think he wants to make a deal.
Tariffs yesterday. Did any foreign leaders approach you and ask for...
I did. I think every foreign leader approached me and said hello. And a lot of good relationships. And we're going to be taking in a tremendous amount of money. We're going to be taking in a lot of jobs, a lot of plants and factories. They're already coming. I mean, you see it. And we're going to make a lot of money, and we're going to cut taxes for the people of this country. It'll take a little while before we do that. But we're going to be cutting taxes. And it's possible we'll do a complete tax cut, because I think the tariffs will be enough to cut all of the income tax. Now, we have a lot of debt that's been left to us, you know, unfortunately, over many years. We'll take care of that. But the tariffs, if people only understood the tariffs, we're going to be giving people of this country a tremendous tax cut. And we're going to start with people making less than $200,000 a year.
Is there any movement on China? Because China said
a little bit. Look, a little bit. They want to make a deal, obviously. Right now, they're not doing business with us. You know, people talk about going cold turkey with China, meaning just forget about it. We were losing hundreds of billions of dollars a year with China, and now they're not doing any business with us, you know, not because of them, because of me. Because at 145%, you can't do business. But something's going to happen that's going to be positive.
Did you and the First Lady have a nice birthday dinner?
We had a great dinner. She's a great First Lady. People loved her. And the funeral was beautiful. It was a beautiful